Chapter 531. Alright, that's enough. You guys are still in the middle of a concert. Don't talk about these things. Chen Guang didn't want to care about Jiang Ye's jeering even if he was beaten to death. He felt so awkward. He didn't expect that Jiang Ye wouldn't let him off so easily. Instead, she desperately winked at him, hinting that there were two makeup artists watching them from behind. Brother-in-law, you can't say it like that. Sister Shiriyue and I have been preparing for this concert for more than half a month. Everything that should be prepared has been prepared perfectly. Now, the most important thing in the few minutes of intermission is to adjust her mood and state. As Sister Shiriyue's boyfriend, if you don't give her an encouraging kiss, then what if Sister Shiriyue's heart is down and her mood is affected when she goes on stage later? Isn't that your fault? Jean Shiriyue blushed and pinched Jiang Ye's waist again and again, asking her to restrain herself. Chen Guang rolled his eyes madly. Are you really not done? Do you really think I don't dare to? I'm not at a disadvantage. Don't force me. Chen Guang was so annoyed by Jiang Ye that his heart was burning with evil fire. Alright, you're the one who forced me to pretend to be real. Anyway, I've been a scapegoat on the internet for a long time. If I don't really take advantage of you, I'm not worthy of my reputation as a cheap boyfriend. Alright, I'll kiss you then. I'm a man, why would I be shy? As he said that, he turned around and gently hugged Jean Shiriyue, who was next to him. Jean Shiriyue's whole body trembled, and her body stiffened as if she was enchanted. Her face was also a little frightened. Although she and Chen Guang were so high profile on the internet, it was all for others to see. She didn't think that there would be a day when she would really be hugged by Chen Guang. Her breathing gradually quickened, and a touch of redness slowly surged under her beautiful makeup. But Jean Shiriyue didn't completely indulge in it. Instead, she secretly glanced at Jiang Ye's expression next to her. She saw that Jiang Ye stood aside with her hands clasped over her heart. A pair of beautiful big eyes stared at the air between Chen Guang and Jean Shiriyue. Her eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. Jean Shiriyue silently pinched Jiang Ye's hand. Who asked you to make a fuss? Now that he really wants to kiss me, you're here to complain and envy. Isn't this your doing? Jiang Ye was also a little dumbfounded watching from the side. She didn't expect that Chen Guang would really want to kiss Jean Shiriyue. She just wanted to change the atmosphere a little, so that the two people wouldn't make it seem like a meeting between the leaders of the country. Otherwise, the two makeup artists would notice something was wrong and go out to gossip. A lot of gossip in the entertainment industry was secretly exposed by these small staff, who stayed by the artist's side. It wasn't easy for a youth idol to make their relationship public. But once it was made public, if people suspected that they were acting, the impact would be even worse. At this time, Chen Guang didn't think so much in his mind. He just looked at Jean Shiriyue's evasive eyes and her blushing face, which was really like a beautiful picture. He had seen Jean Shiriyue's beautiful face countless times on TV or on the internet. It wasn't that there weren't people who were as close to each other as they were now when they were together. But now was different from the past. Chen Guang's state of mind was completely different from the past. In the past, no matter how close they were, he didn't think of kissing her. But at this moment, looking at the cherry-red lips so close, and the way she gradually closed her misty eyes, allowing him to do whatever he wanted, Jean Shiriyue's beauty was further magnified. Like a storm sweeping through his heart, like a spring rain teasing his heart, just like a demon walking in the human world, Jean Shiriyue's face slowly devoured Chen Guang's reserved and rational mind. He secretly took a deep breath, slightly widened his eyes, and slowly lowered his head, aiming at Jean Shiriyue's lips. They kissed. Their four lips crossed the barrier of identity and the interference of the third wheel, Jiang Ye, and stuck together fiercely. Jean Shiriyue's breathing and heartbeat seemed to have stopped at that moment. She felt as if her soul was being sucked away from her lips. Jiang Ye's body tightened into a ball, regretting so much that her intestines turned green. I'm trapped in a cocoon of my own making. I really wish that the person who was kissed by him was me. I'm so stupid. So regretful. Sister Shiriyue, what are you doing? Staring blankly, Jiang Ye actually saw a red cloud sweeping up from below Jean Shiriyue's neck, causing her whole body to be suffused with a red light. What was even more excessive was that she unconsciously let out a murmur from her nose. Her hands actually hugged Chen Guang's back from behind, caressing his back randomly. That's enough. The two of you are enough. Acting to this extent was already more than enough. Chen Guang was much more clear-headed than Jin Shiyue. He only thought, her lips are really soft, just like the cotton candy he ate when he was young, soft and moist. This is the goddess's lips that thousands of fans in the country dream of. And now I'm kissing it tightly. Forget it, although things turned out to be a little strange, and I feel a little sorry for her. But the feeling is really good, very comfortable. Unexpectedly, he felt a slight scratching pain on his back. Jin Shiyue, who was hugging him, was using even more strength, and her body was fiercely pressing against him. Her tall and plump breasts carried the youthful aura of a 20-year-old girl, extremely oppressive. Even through the 3 layers of clothes between the two of them, the feeling was still so clear. What's this situation? Big sister, aren't we acting? That's enough. It's already in place. At this moment, a soft and moist lilac tongue suddenly burrowed out from between Jin Shiyue's lips, actually pried open his lips and probed into his mouth. This was King terrible. Cough cough cough. Cough 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 cough. At this moment, Jiang Yage coughed violently. She had been holding it in for a long time. She couldn't hold it in anymore. Jin Shiyue suddenly woke up, the misty look in her eyes receding like the tide. She realized that she might have gone too far, quickly covered her face, pushed Chen Guang away, and shrunk to the side. Sorry, I lost control a little. I've never filmed a kissing scene. I don't have much experience. No one knew who she was apologizing to, perhaps only Jiang Yage, and Chen Guang understood a little. The makeup artists on the side were very excited and applauded. One more. No, it's a concert. Chen Guang took advantage of others, subconsciously felt guilty, and continuously waved his hand. Jiang Yage pouted, took out a beautiful box from her bag, and stuffed it into Chen Guang's hand. Here, we asked Master Jamie Laurent to make this watch strap in Australia. Remember to wear it when you go back. She didn't want to admit it, but she was really jealous. She just wanted to do something to adjust Chen Guang's emotions after the kiss, as soon as possible. Chen Guang took the watch strap blushing and chuckled. I'll change it now. At this moment, there was a sudden loud noise. It sounded very frightening. Everyone was shocked. Something happened. Chapter 532. Sister Zhou, what's wrong? Disregarding the fact that there were still many dancers changing outside, Jin Shiyue, who had just recovered from her shyness, abruptly opened the door of the break room and walked out. Perhaps she was trying to escape from something. Jiang Yage's brows were tightly furrowed. They had prepared for this concert for a long time, and attached great importance to it. She didn't want any accidents to happen at this time. Chen Guang didn't think too much about it, and hurriedly ran out. The crowd didn't understand the situation until they reached the outermost hall backstage. Zhou Yun's face was so gloomy that it could drip water. Something happened. Just now, after the last group of guests finished their performance, our 2 pianists tripped and fell down the aisle. It seems like Lin tripped first and fell down the stairs with Qi Jinyue. What? Did they fall badly? As soon as Jin Shiyue asked this, she felt that it was unnecessary. The commotion was so loud that the entire backstage could hear it. The two of them must have been seriously injured. Jin Shiyue said, "Let's hurry up and take a look. Don't hurt them." The crowd walked forward like the stars surrounding the moon. As soon as they reached the staircase, Chen Guang felt that there was no need to ask any more questions. These 2 old fellows must have had 8 lifetimes of bad luck. They rolled from the top of the stairs to the bottom of the staircase, and then rolled into a ball against the wall. Not only were their heads broken and bleeding, but they were also curled up in a corner with one hand covering the other in pain. The medical staff gave the 2 a simple examination, then shook their heads and stood up. They can't perform on stage. Mr. He and Mr. Qi both have a certain degree of joint sprain. As for whether there are any fractures, we'll have to check further. Zhou Yun's face was livid. But the concert is only halfway through. There are at least 7 more songs that need piano accompaniment. What should we do? Do we have a backup pianist? Zhou Yin asked as she pulled over the person in charge of the concert organization. The man was so scared that his face was pale. I didn't expect this to happen. He Lin and Qi Jinhua are the best pianists our company can find. There are other pianists near the company, but the traffic is very bad. I'm afraid they won't make it in time. Then what should we do? Are we going to change the sound system and give up on the live accompaniment? Zhou Yin turned her head and asked Jin Shirihua. However, Jin Shirihua shook her head. No, 3 of the remaining 7 songs are new. Although the other 4 are old songs, they have been rearranged. We just made adjustments to 2 of them yesterday. We didn't prepare a sound source for the studio's sound quality. Besides, if we change the sound source at the last minute, all the other accompaniment will have to be abandoned, and the effect of the whole concert will be messed up. Can't you ask backstage if any of the performers know how to play the piano? Let's just find 2 people to replace them, Chen Guang suggested. Jiang Yage shook her head fiercely. That won't do. This is a live performance. We have to ensure the effect. We can't just let anyone take over. Although our songs aren't very difficult, we haven't practiced them before. How can we let others take over directly? Then what should we do now? The group was in a dilemma. However, He Lin and Qi Jinua's injuries weren't light, so they couldn't be delayed. The entertainment company arranged for them to be sent to the hospital. The 2 musicians wanted to bite the bullet, but when everyone saw that their wrists were swollen like thighs, no one dared to let them do it. The last song of the special guests was rock and roll. The prelude had already started, and the next song would be the piano accompaniment. Time was running out. What happened? Just as everyone was having a headache, the well-informed Bai Hua rushed over with Lin Jingwei and the others. Brother Bai Hua, why are you here? When Jin Shirihua saw Bai Hua, she was a little shocked. However, she maintained her composure and held onto Chen Guang's hand. Bai Hua's eyelids twitched, and his heart bled. Shirihua, don't be like this. I wish you happiness. I've also found my true love. Don't be so guarded against me. With a bitter face, Zhou Yin explained the sudden situation to Bai Hua. No matter how young Bai Hua was, it was obvious that he couldn't magically summon a pianist who could take the blame. Chen Guang looked at Jin Shirihua and Jiang Yage's anxious and angry faces, and his heart ached for them. It's over, it's all over. Chen Guang put his hand on Lin Jingwei's shoulder and said in an extremely anxious tone. Lin Jingwei turned his head and looked at Chen Guang for a long time. Brother Guang, are you stupid? If I remember correctly, didn't you give a piano concert before? Didn't you play the world's 10 most difficult songs, as if you were playing a game? Although you were wearing a mask at that time, I knew it was you. That's true. That's right. I can do it. Little Lin, you're so smart. It's not that I'm smart, it's that you're too stupid. Alright, watch me. Chen Guang waved his hand and pushed Lin Jingwei away. He stood in the middle of the crowd and raised his hands. Everyone don't panic. I'll do it. What? Everyone turned to look at him in unison, and the atmosphere in the room suddenly froze. It was quiet for more than 10 seconds, and then everyone turned their heads back as if nothing had happened. Why don't we try to find someone in the audience who knows how to play? No, that's impossible. Let's change the song at the last minute, and change it to sound accompaniment. The effect is just a little bit worse. We can add a conversation and interaction segment. If we cut one song, the fans shouldn't have too much of an opinion. We can let Mr. Chen interact with Shirihua on the stage, talk about love, and talk about his future plans. That's not a good idea. Chen Guang stared at these guys. None of them took him seriously. He was so angry that his face turned green and white. The old man's piano god statue is right in front of me. How dare you ignore me? How dare you ignore the piano god? Ignore the greatest pianist in history? He slammed the table again. Hey, I'm serious. At this moment, Jiang Yage suddenly remembered. Hey, right, isn't brother-in-law very good at playing the piano? It's difficult to find someone else at the last minute. But brother-in-law should be able to do it, right? We're really in the dark. Zhou Yin was put in a difficult position. Yage, don't joke around. Mr. Chen only knows a little. No, he doesn't know a little. Sis Zhou, you haven't seen him live or followed his videos. Let me put it to you this way. Brother-in-law is a master in the piano. A real master. Perhaps even better than those who have won international awards. It's just that he has never participated in any international competitions before, and doesn't have any awards in the piano field. Jiang Yage argued for Chen Guang. Jin Shiyue also nodded, and walked over to hold Chen Guang's hand. Yage is not talking nonsense. Darling has held a live concert before. Although it was only broadcast on a local station, it had a great impact on the international music industry. Can he really do it? Zhou Yun wavered. Chapter 533. The person in charge of the entertainment company acted quickly. He had already opened his phone and started searching. He slapped his thigh and said, "Hey, why didn't I think of it? Shiyue's boyfriend is Chen Guang. Chen Guang is an all-rounder. Brother all-rounder. Do you remember the comment below the video you uploaded for the first time? You even replied to me. I'm one of your first fans. If it's you, there won't be a problem. But some of our songs require 2 pianos. Even if Mr. Chen can fill in, we're still lacking one person. If it's just 1 piano, the performance will be affected," Zhou Yun said. Chen Guang waved his hand nonchalantly. "It doesn't matter. If it's necessary, I can play 2 pianos by myself." Everyone's eyes widened. "You're going too far with your bragging. Who the hell can play 2 pianos by themselves? This is concert accompaniment, not acrobatics. This won't work, right? I know people have performed like this before, but those were specially adapted songs. Our accompaniment is a normal song that requires 2 hands to play a piano at the same time. You don't have 4 hands, so it won't work. It really won't work." Zhou Yun shook her head like a rattle drum. The others did the same. Seeing everyone's disbelief, Chen Guang just smiled silently. "To be honest, I like how you bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well think that the old man is bragging. But when the time comes, you have no choice but to obediently kneel to him. Everyone, since it's come to this, it seems like we don't have any other choice. Let's not talk about these useless things. Set up the 2 pianos for me. Won't we know if it's a donkey or a horse? How about this? I'll make a military pledge. If I really screw it up today, I'll publish an apology in the papers tomorrow. How about that?" Chen Guang said very seriously. A successful concert required a large group of people to work together. Chen Guang understood their scruples and hesitation. This was also the hard work of all of them. Of course they would be overcautious. If he really messed it up, he would be letting down all of them. Although he was full of confidence, in the eyes of others, it was indeed very difficult for one person to play 2 pianos and ensure a perfect performance. This was just like the World Championship of darts. Before he appeared, who would have believed that someone could shoot anywhere he wanted from dozens of meters away? Just do as Chen Guang says. No one had much time to hesitate. Jin Shiyue stood up for her man and made the decision. Her thoughts were very clear. Regardless of whether Chen Guang could do it or not, since they were a couple in front of outsiders, she had to play the role of a little woman and trust her man unconditionally. Even if he really messed it up, they would shoulder it together. Jiang Yage nodded heavily. "That's right. Sister Zhou, quickly arrange for someone to help brother-in-law put on makeup and change his clothes." "All right. Let brother-in-law take a look at the score in advance. There's only 5 minutes left." There were many things that needed to be communicated urgently. Jin Jiang and Bai Hua chose to trust Chen Guang unconditionally and went to do their own things. "Chen Guang, this is Shiyue's first large-scale concert in Beijing after she became famous. You're the one who insisted on showing off. If you mess it up..." Bai Hua was still a little worried. He could not drag Lin Jingwei away, so he had to run to Chen Guang, who was in the middle of putting on makeup. Chen Guang did not even raise his head. His eyes quickly scanned the score. "Brother Xiaobai, you don't have to worry about this. I'm much more concerned about my woman's matters than you are. You should just sit down and be a good audience. I thank you on behalf of the 2 of us." Originally, he did not want to use Jin Shiyue's name to flaunt his affection, but Brother Xiaobai was really annoying in this aspect. "Brother Xiaobai, I have something to say to you very seriously. Shiyue is my girlfriend. As a man, I really don't like it when my girlfriend has a brother who is not related to her. You know what I mean, you understand. Childhood friends, best buddies, I can understand that. After all, who doesn't have friends? But a true friend should understand that you shouldn't do things that make things difficult for her, right? He put down the score and said calmly, regardless of whether Shiryua's boyfriend is me or someone else, you have to be clear about this matter. Brother Xiaobai, you're the CEO of a big company. You should be able to understand this kind of simple worldly wisdom, right? As he said this, Chen Guang thought to himself, if I didn't know that the person you like is another me, if I didn't know that Jin Shiryue and I aren't a true couple, if it wasn't for little Lin mediating between us, I would have beaten you up every time I see you. Bai Hua's heart, liver, spleen, stomach, and kidneys were all uncomfortable after being reprimanded by Chen Guang. Although he knew that Chen Guang was right, how many people dared to speak to him like this after so many years? Lin Jingwei saw that the situation was not good and quickly came forward. All right. Stop torturing me. Can you be more magnanimous? Brother Xiaobai, let's go. Let him read the score alone. Time is too tight. Oh right, I have important information to report. It's related to Chinyu. What? Let's go. Chen Guang was silent for a long time as he looked at the back of the two leaving quickly. Sigh. In the end, I still have to rely on my beauty to snatch a woman from others. The rock music outside gradually stopped, and the audience gradually recovered from the excitement of the music. But soon, everyone began to cheer Jin Shiryue and Jiang Ye's names in unison. Next would be the first time the two would perform their new songs in public. Naturally, the audience was looking forward to it. The others were already in position. Chen Guang finally tidied up a little. The makeup artist was so tired that he was sweating profusely. Fortunately, Mr. Chen has a good foundation. His facial features are very regular. All we need to do is slightly brighten up his face, and he will be on camera. I appreciate an honest person like you. Chen Guang smiled. He picked up the iPad and walked out. Zhou Yin led the way in front of him. She was still a little worried. Mr. Chen, is it going to be okay? Before stepping onto the stage, Chen Guang turned around and looked at Zhou Yin. Of course, it's going to be okay. Looking at his handsome back, Zhou Yin could only roll her eyes. Anyway, the two pianos have been arranged according to your instructions. If you really act like a donkey, I will remove your millstone. I will fight it out with you. On the huge stage, Jin Shiryue and Jiang Ye wore a black and white feather dress respectively. They stood back to back. They were surrounded by 16 dancers in blue chiffon dresses. On the stage behind them, the accompaniment band was waiting. For this concert, not only did the two of them train hard for more than a month, but the band members also trained even harder than Jin Shiryue and Jiang Ye. But at this time, they were very flustered. They had just found out that He Lin and Qi Jinyue had been accidentally injured. But at this time, there were still two pianos placed in the middle of the stage. However, when the curtain changed, the two pianos had been placed side by side to face each other. In the middle was a round swivel stool, and on the stool sat a man hidden in the shadows. Who is this? I haven't seen him even once during the group practice. Could it be that today is the first time he saw the music score? With two pianos placed like this, could it be that he wants to play two by himself? This is too childish. Jingwei, I have already made up my mind. If he messes up, I will spend 50 million to start a media company. I will use different ways to defame him every day. I will defame him full time. Bai Hua sat on the VIP seat with his legs crossed. He looked at the dark stage and hummed. Brother Bai, you have changed. Oh, did you say that Chinyu is really from the northeast? She likes to eat scallion sauce? Bai Hua changed the topic. Lin Jingwei nodded. Yes. She also said that she has a strong personality and doesn't like to adapt to other people's lifestyle. Bai Hua gritted his teeth. Fine. I will try to learn to eat scallion sauce when I go back tonight. This is true love. You two stop chatting. It's starting. In a sense, Gaoyu was the real fan of this table. As the music started, Jin Shiryue sang in a low voice. Swan Lake under the moonlight. I bring it to everyone. I hope everyone will like it. As soon as Jin Shiryue's voice fell, the melodious sound of the accordion quickly cut in, and Jiang Ye began to sing warmly with her unique, crisp, Oreo-like singing voice. Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage had worked together for many years. They both had their own styles. Jiang Yage's voice was clear and resounding. She had a unique voice in the upper register. Jin Shiyue's voice was sweet and gentle. She was known as the king of the country's young singers. Both of their voices were very recognizable. And when paired together, they could bring the listener's ears into a wonderful auditory experience without any blind spots. Although their songs were often said to be catchy songs that lacked depth and were catchy, no one could deny that they were really good. When it came to music, it couldn't be bad. Art that could be loved by the people couldn't be bad art. The ordinary audience only knew that the two were in good condition today, and that they were singing well. However, the insiders clenched their fists and waited for the chorus nervously. Even if Chen Guang really could play like the rumors said, he had only seen the score and had never practiced it before. Therefore, the audience was not sure. Finally, when the song cut into the chorus, the crisp sound of a piano suddenly cut in. Zhou Yun, who had clenched her fists, and the people from the entertainment company immediately let out a long sigh of relief. Thank goodness, it didn't seem to be that bad. His music was extremely precise, not rushing for a single minute or a second more. He was always able to play the right note at the right time. The first song only needed a single piano accompaniment. Chen Guang was able to cut in at the right time with only the score and no practice. He had never worked with a band before, but he was able to perfectly match the rhythm of the others. This was already a big surprise. It was not easy. How could they know that for the super player who could play as long as he had the score and the strongest bard, right, Chen, who was famous in the instantaneous ocean, this was not a problem at all. Admittedly, his piano sound was extremely lacking in personal style. However, this was Jin Zhang's concert, not his solo performance. There was no need for personal style. All he needed to do was to accurately follow every note like a machine. The music gradually stopped, and the lights gave the band a close-up. Chen Guang didn't have time to care. Instead, he took advantage of the little time left to sweep his eyes over the iPad in front of him. The next song had nothing to do with him, but the song after that was the accompaniment of two pianos. The real challenge had just begun. Chapter 534. Mozart's Autumn. Just from the name, one could tell that this song was mainly composed of piano music. This wasn't a new song, but the title song of the album of the same name released by the sisters 2 years ago. It was a super hot song that dominated the charts for 38 weeks. The entire piano part of the song was a combination of 12 classic works by Mozart. Moreover, the two women and many masters had meticulously crafted the connecting parts. It could be considered a perfect connection. It could even be said that Mozart's Autumn represented the pinnacle of the musical depth of the left and right-hand duo. It was also because of the existence of this song that the entertainment company in charge of the concert preparation work paid special attention to it and hired two famous experts in Beijing, He Lin and Qi Jinyue. These two people were even more famous than Zhuo Jingxi's fiancé Zhou Long. It was a pity that the heavens were not on their side. The two of them fell into the hospital before they could perform the song together. One of them was injured, and both of them were extremely unlucky. Zhou Yun paced back and forth backstage, almost dazzling the eyes of the person in charge of the entertainment company beside her. Sister Zhou, take a break. Anyway, he's already on stage. No matter how nervous you are, it's useless. I understand what you're saying, but I'm just afraid. Zhou Yun frowned. I still don't understand how he can play two pianos by himself. Do you know? I don't know either. Then why doesn't he panic at all? It's like he's already eaten the sea calming needle. Actually, I'm scared to death, but I'm just too embarrassed to say it. There's no use panicking. In fact, not only Sister Zhou and the others, even Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were a little distracted. They couldn't help but look at Chen Guang. Although he and the piano were temporarily hidden in the dark, once the performance began, the lights on his side would be turned on. In Mozart's Autumn, the importance of the pianist was not inferior to the singer at all, so it was inevitable that he would become the focus of the audience. At this time, Chen Guang didn't care about what others were worried about. He had completely entered the state of a bard. In his mind, He was rapidly analyzing the two piano scores of Mozart's Autumn. It wasn't that he had the ability to adapt the music on the spot to make the accompaniment of the two pianos simpler and more suitable for two hands to play the two pianos separately. He was just using his rich playing experience to break down the music score into the simplest rules, such as when to press which key and what sound to produce. This method was very stupid, but it was also very difficult. Only he, who had endured the demonic training of the piano cup world, could use this most difficult and stupid method to do it. Similarly, he was the only one who possessed the terrifying Qilin arms that mortals could only look up to and not imagine. After all, when he first learned to play the piano, he also learned it by throwing bread and steak at the people in the lobby of the bar on the Virginia in a similar stupid method. Raising his hands and stretching his body, Chen Guang could imagine the intense exercise that his arms would undergo. However, it didn't matter. After all, the Qilin arms would be used in a single moment. Sooner or later, the Qilin arms would make an appearance, and it was time for mortals to look up to them. You're asking me how I can play two pianos by myself? Do you think I'll omit half of the notes and stupidly place my hands on the two pianos separately? Don't joke around, that's no different from playing one piano, okay? Why would I do such a shoddy thing to take advantage of the situation? I'm going to defy the heavens. My method is very simple and crude. Perhaps there will be a slight deviation in the intonation, but I'm going to rely on super fast pendulum movements to make my left and right hands play the piano at the same time. I'm going to show you the invincible power of the Qilin arms that I've trained after playing more than 20 million brass fireworks. Chen Guang was also determined. He also had his own ideas. That's right. After thinking for a long time, he still couldn't figure out what method he should use to prove to the world that his Qilin arms was the strongest in the world. He couldn't even find an entry point for a cow eating a pumpkin. But today, when he proposed to play two pianos by himself, he suddenly had a burst of inspiration. He suddenly thought, I'll show off the Qilin arms the way I practiced in the past. What I practiced was overclocked vibration, and as long as I show off the overclocked vibration, it would completely meet the requirements of the Qilin arms. It's just that the amplitude is a little bigger. Alright, it's not just a little bigger, but 10 times bigger. But it doesn't matter. I can hold on. And I must hold on. This was the live concert of Jin Shirihua and Jiang Yage. There were tens of thousands of people in the audience. Zhongnan Satellite TV and Yanjing Satellite TV, which had high viewership ratings, were broadcasting it live at the same time. It was said that Xiaozong also spent a lot of money to buy the rights to broadcast it online. The total number of viewers in several places was probably higher than the World Championship of Darts. It was definitely not less than 20 million people. During the previous song, Chen Guang didn't have much screen time, but he knew that when Autumn of Mozart began, all the audience would see the invincible style of the old man's Qilin arms in front of their TV. Surrender, mortals. Surrender to the old man's Qilin arms. I'll let you understand why the old man was able to conquer your goddess. It's because of the terrifying overclocked vibration of the old man's hands. Don't let your imagination run wild. Jin Shirihua and I are pure. Before he could let his imagination run wild, Jin Shirihua and Jiang Yage had already finished their lines. The music was about to start. The crisp and melodious piano solo gradually sounded. Everything sounded normal, full of the beauty of peace and tranquility. Jin Shirihua could no longer worry about Chen Guang's condition. She picked up the microphone and closed her eyes. The long prelude of the song burst out from her chest and was transmitted to everyone's ears through the microphone. Jiang Yage stood beside Jin Shirihua, but her mind was focused on Chen Guang behind her. In about 10 seconds, the music from the second piano would start playing. From an ordinary musical performance, it was nothing more than two pianos complementing each other to make the performance more three-dimensional. But everyone who knew the truth was sweating in their palms. A cellist's chair was very close to Chen Guang. He had already practiced the piece in his hands to the point where he could play it even with his eyes closed. Therefore, he was more free than the others, and could even glance at the piano from time to time. Chen Guang sat on a round stool, his hands on the white piano in front of him, fingers flying. The cellist was full of curiosity. This brother who suddenly appeared to save the situation was very skilled. Although it wasn't amazing to say that he was a substitute at the last minute. With his stability, he could be considered a master. But it was time for the two pianos to perform together. How did they arrange it? Did they change to a single piano? Then the whole concert might be acceptable to the ears of ordinary fans. But to the ears of senior music critics or picky music fans, it would be a serious problem. Right at this moment, his pupils constricted, because he discovered something extremely strange. This person was bouncing, and then inexplicably sat sideways. The two pianos were on his left and right sides, and his body was completely at a right angle to the piano. His right hand had been completely removed, resting on the other black piano, and his left hand was missing. The white piano did not stop playing, and it was completely the same as before. To the cellist's picky ears, he might have heard a slight change in pitch, but it was still within an acceptable range. But he did not play anymore. Where was his left hand? Did he see a ghost? At this time, the lights on the top of the stage suddenly came on, and two intersecting strong lights shone on Chen Guang. The people in front of the TV saw this scene. Chen Guang sat sideways between the two pianos, his eyes closed, his expression cold. His chiseled facial features looked especially handsome under the light, after he put on some simple makeup. As for those that didn't know Chen Guang, they were wondering who this pianist was since he looked rather handsome. Those who knew Chen Guang were even more surprised. How could it be him, Jin Shiyue's rumored boyfriend, personally playing? Of course, whether they knew him or not, they all had the same thought at this time. His sitting posture doesn't seem right. And where is his left hand? Where did it run off to? I have never heard of him being the one-armed hero Yang Gua. Also, are you really playing the piano? After lip-syncing, the current celebrities have developed a new trick, letting their rumored boyfriend fake play the piano. Chapter 535. Just as everyone was puzzled and at a loss, Chen Guang's right hand suddenly moved. From stillness to movement, it happened in an instant. Under the spotlight, under everyone's eyes, his right hand disappeared into thin air. A magic show? A Prince Charming broke both his arms? How did he make his hands disappear into thin air? But there was no mention of this in the previous concert preview. Did he use the special effects of light and shadow? What was the point of this performance? One mystery after another arose in the minds of the audience at the venue and in front of their computers. But at this time, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Ye's singing gradually became more sonorous as the music progressed, slowly bringing the audience back into the normal atmosphere of the concert. Jin Shiyue and Jiang Ye were very experienced on stage. Although they were young, they already had the demeanor of a veteran artist. No matter how worried they were about Chen Guang, with their stage presence, they would definitely not drop the ball first. Don't be fooled by the two singing and dancing on stage. They actually had a big question mark in their minds. There really were two pianos playing at the same time. How did he do it? He really didn't cut corners and force himself to play two pianos. Not a single note was missing. He really used two hands to play the effect of two people using four hands. What was going on? The two of them were like 100,000 wise. Zhou Yun wasn't much better than Jin Shiyue and Jiang Ye. Hiding in the corner backstage, her eyes widened and blinked, but she still couldn't believe what she was seeing. Is the digital audio playing backstage? Zhou Yun turned to ask the person in charge of the entertainment company. The man was well prepared. He squinted at the front with the binoculars in his hand and hummed. No, really. This piano was played by Mr. Chun. Stop joking, I don't believe it. Even if I saw it with my own eyes, I still wouldn't believe it. Zhou Yun was stubborn. She snatched the binoculars and muttered, "Let me see." 20 seconds later, Zhou Yun quietly put down the binoculars. Her mind was blank. The more she saw the scene with her own eyes, the stranger it felt. Chen Guang's hand had indeed disappeared. Even with the binoculars, she couldn't see it. Starting from his shoulder, his hand seemed to have vanished into thin air. But the ups and downs of the keys on the piano could be seen clearly, as if a ghost was playing. But there were no ghosts in this world, only Chen Guang sitting there. Zhou Yun turned to look at the person in charge of the entertainment company and asked doubtfully, "Is it because his hands are moving so fast that we can't see them clearly? Is he really playing one by one?" "I think so." "Crazy, completely crazy. Was his hand an electric motor? How could it tremble so fast? And he played it so steadily? I don't believe it." "I don't care if you believe it or not, but that's what we saw. I was the one who found the piano, so there's no way it can play automatically." Bai Hua, Lin Jingwei and Gao Ya, who were sitting in the VIP seats, weren't any better. They couldn't be bothered to listen to Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. Their eyes were glued to the big LED screen at the back of the stadium. On the screen was Chen Guang sitting motionless between the two pianos. What is he trying to do? Bai Hua squinted, trying to see what was going on. Lin Jingwei thought for a long time and said hesitantly, "In my humble opinion, maybe, his hands are moving too fast, and the camera can't capture them clearly." "Don't talk nonsense, how is that possible?" Bai Hua refused to believe it. "What else? How do you explain it?" Lin Jingwei shrugged and whispered in Bai Hua's ear, "Brother Bai Hua, actually, Chen Guang has a very good friend named Wenwen. She knows inner force." "Huh?" Bai Hua raised his eyebrows. "Inner force?" Lin Jingwei nodded. "Yes. Then maybe it's really possible." Bai Hua looked at the big screen unwillingly. "He's a complete psycho. And also a lunatic. Isn't he afraid of getting into trouble with such a flashy technique? How can a normal person's hands shake like that?" Lin Jingwei curled his lips. "What is he afraid of? Isn't there me, Jin Shiyue, and Wenwen, who would really cut him up and use him as a lab rat? It's just that I didn't expect this guy to be so lucky. His hands are invincible." Gao Ya didn't really hear what the two were talking about, but she was so excited that she pinched Lin Jingwei's shoulder. "Lin Jingwei, hurry up and learn from him. This vibration frequency looks so good. It's much better than the thing you bought a few days ago." Just as she finished speaking, Gao Ya realized that they were outside, and there were outsiders. Her face flushed red, and she turned to the side shyly. Lin Jingwei quickly covered his face, feeling so awkward. The sound of the piano continued, and Jin Zhang's performance continued as usual. Although the audience in front of their computers and televisions felt that the armless handsome guy, who would occasionally appear on camera, was very magical, they only treated it as a concert Easter egg. Perhaps it was the same as the little rainbow flag that kept spinning in circles at a certain spring festival gala. This was also Jin Shiyue's way of promoting her boyfriend's debut, so she got him to be a mascot. It didn't matter if the piano was really played or not. Only a small number of people in the know were shocked to the point that they couldn't even take care of themselves. Finally, the music of Mozart's Autumn gradually stopped, and the accompaniment changed from two pianos to a single piano. Chen Guang was actually having a hard time. Although the Kirin arm was powerful, he was forced to play two pianos this time. The swing was 10 times larger than before, and he still had to play every note accurately during the swing. It wasn't easy. To ordinary people, this was just nonsense. It was like living in a dream. It was impossible, and they couldn't even think about it. Only he could. However, as long as he could get through this Mozart's Autumn, the other songs would be easy. Even if he needed two pianos, they were usually simpler combinations, and they could be completed by using homophonic resonance. It wasn't like this song, which required two pianos to complement each other. Finally, he let out a long breath, and suddenly retracted his right hand. His body twisted to the left, and he looked like he was playing a piano with both hands. His disappeared hands gradually reappeared in the camera. Although they were still jumping on the piano keys as fast as lightning, at least they could be seen clearly. The TV camera accurately captured this scene. Whether it was the live audience or the audience in front of the screen, their eyelids twitched. They were puzzled. Did this mean that he wasn't putting on a show just now? He was really playing? Are you King kidding me? Even the old fans of Chen Guang's Weibo account, All Around Superman, felt blind. Brother All Around, why are your hands shaking like a helicopter? Why don't you go to heaven? Don't lie to me, I don't read much. Chen Guang was also quite unhappy at this time. I'm already working so hard. But why hasn't the statue of the Kirin arm moved? There's no reason why such a Kirin arm can't convince people. Could it be that the scene looks too fantastical, and no one believes it at all? F***ck. The more he thought about it, the more it seemed possible. He felt a faint pain in the bottom of his heart. At this time, the benefits of the online live broadcast finally showed. There were already technical experts who had intercepted the ultra-clear video source of Bamboo Live, and then slowed down the playback speed by 60 times for frame-by-frame analysis. Then they came to an amazing conclusion. Everyone, as the most technical fan of all-around Superman, I'm here again. But this time, it's not to verify the authenticity of the video, but to analyze the supernatural phenomenon at today's concert. I'll give you a warning first, guys with heart disease, don't watch my next analysis. Below this string of text, there were several consecutive long pictures, each long picture with several frame-by-frame analysis pictures, in which the scattered distribution of Chen Guang's arms in the shape of shadows could be vaguely seen. His last picture was a shocking conclusion in red letters. I believe that everyone will understand after reading my analysis. In summary, Brother Allrounder used the high-frequency vibration of his hands to create the feeling of two hands popping out with one hand. In fact, in the analysis, it can be found that compared with a normal performance with two hands, there is indeed an error of about 0.2 seconds between every two intonations. But he used the other hand to cleverly split it when playing, and this originally unacceptable error was filled in by using a homophonic method, so no abnormalities can be found in normal hearing. I'm really shocked. Although everyone knows that Brother Allrounder is very good at playing the piano, and that the world's most difficult songs can't stump him, his hands are really terrifying. Beyond human understanding, this must be the world's most terrifying vibrating hand. This person directly posted on another Weibo, but after several previous wars between Chen Guang's fans and other people, this technical expert has already become a little famous among Chen Guang's fans. So as soon as his Weibo was posted, it caused a lot of sensation on Weibo. After a while, in the live broadcast room of Bamboo's live concert, the Water Friends also began to shout, asking everyone to quickly go to Weibo to see God. In just a few minutes, this Weibo has received an astonishing number of clicks, and in the form of text, some people in the bullet screen also relayed the technical expert's analysis. At this time, the audience in front of the computer looked at Chen Guang, who was leisurely playing the piano on the screen, and the look in their eyes was not right. This is AF** King Living God. I always thought that I was already a loyal fan of Brother Allrounder, but today I know that I was wrong. I repent for the brief moment that I suspected that Brother Allrounder was a fake. Who would have thought that his hand could be so good? He doesn't play cards according to the routine, and just because he doesn't agree with me, he pretends to be so pretentious, I can't guard against it. No matter what you think, I will first kneel to show my respect. I'm so envious of Jin Shiyue. Really envious. I'm a girl everyone knows. I'm also a female fan of Chen Guang. I'm wet, by the way, everyone. Don't send me private messages. I won't reply. I only have him in my heart. Far away in a mountain forest in a suburban county of Yanjing, Wenwen was sitting in front of the computer, fiddling with the mouse in boredom. The screen was showing the scene of the concert. Wenwen's eyes flickered, and no one knew what she was thinking. At this time her phone rang. She looked down, suddenly got up, dropped the mouse and rushed out of the door. Her figure flashed and disappeared into the darkness. Chen Guang had just finished playing a single piano accompaniment, and he would wait until the last song of the concert to use two pianos, so he could finally take a breather. He drank a mouthful of water and fell into ecstasy. Although he did not know what happened, the world of Qilin's arm was showing signs of completion. Thank God, today's work was not in vain. Chapter 536. A smile bloomed on Chen Guang's face. How could he not be happy that the world of the Qilin's arm, which he had no choice but to do with, had turned into an unexpected success? The pleasant surprise even made the sound of the piano in his hands become full of emotion. His fingers became more agile, and his 10 fingers turned into elves, flying up and down in the air. The piano music, which was originally only used as a foil, also had a different flavor. As singers, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage felt this change the most. Although they didn't know what happened to him, the two girls who had their hearts tied to him also became happy. After the autumn of Mozart, the TV and online broadcast crew also realized that the identity of this temporarily replaced pianist was special. As long as there was a chance, they would give Chen Guang the camera. They even secretly used different ways to make him look good, and found all kinds of handsome close-ups to give him face. Whether it was the audience in front of the TV or online, they kept giving Chen Guang face. More and more people who didn't know him were curious about his identity, and as for those who knew him, they all sighed and thought that he was a perfect match. Previously, everyone said that for him to be able to get together with Jin Shirihua, it was like a toad eating swan meat. In the end, he was not a toad at all. Just based on his piano skills, just based on his inexplicable technique of playing two pianos at once, he was definitely a piano genius that only appeared once every few decades. Given time, he would definitely become a great person, and would definitely be able to leave a strong mark in the history of art. After all, he and Jin Shirihua were in the same circle. He was handsome and talented. He won the championship of the World Darts Championship in the morning, and played the piano at the concert in the evening. The meaning of this guy's existence was to make people envious, jealous, and hate him. He didn't leave anyone a way out. This mood reached its peak again when Chen Guang began to play the last song, Summer Night Love, which also required two pianos. Unlike in the autumn of Mozart, when people were caught off guard, this time everyone was already mentally prepared. Even when Chen Guang began to change positions, the camera kept focusing on him. Everyone watched as he raised his hand and turned his body. The moment he raised his right hand, his left hand suddenly disappeared, and the sound of the piano changed slightly. Then, when his right hand disappeared, the sound of the piano became a standard two pianos ensemble, confirming the previous speculation and analysis. Seeing it with their own eyes was far more shocking than reading the analysis of others on the internet. Waves of gasps sounded at the same time in countless places all over the country. Seeing it with their own eyes was far more shocking than reading the analysis of others on the internet. Finally, when the final song came to an end, Chen Guang raised the sky-piercing Holy Grail and sank his consciousness into it. He saw a massive arm gradually rising from the Cloud City's platform. Liuli was also particularly satisfied with his efficiency. "Boy, I didn't care you for nothing." Chen Guang couldn't be bothered with her, and only focused on looking at his statue. The tendons on this arm were exactly the same as his own hand. He clenched his fist tightly, and after it stood up it was 2,000 feet tall, giving off the feeling that he was raising his fist to the sky. Chen Guang was extremely satisfied with the shape of this statue. It could be considered a powerful and domineering appearance, living up to the amazing effect of the Qilin arm. Apart from that, the Qilin arm was also constantly sending him a lot of faith points. It was only slightly less than when Otto's statue had just been formed, as much as 18,000 units per day. When his mind returned to the outside world, Chen Guang got up and bowed slightly to the audience together with the other band members, which was considered a curtain call. On the other side, Jin Shirihua and Jiang Yage bowed together, and then began to express their gratitude to the audience who had come to the venue, and to their televisions and computers. The two girls were very emotional. Although there were some accidents that almost ruined the concert, they managed to get through it without any mishaps. The effect was better than they had imagined, and the audience's emotions were also more fervent than they had imagined. At this moment, the audience all stood up and shouted in unison. Some were shouting the names of the two girls, and some were even shouting the names of Chen Guang, or the Almighty Superman. In fact, both Jin Shirihua and Jiang Yage knew that although tonight was their concert, the one who would really make a name for himself in the country tonight would definitely be Chen Guang. Needless to say, the news of him playing two pianos solo tomorrow and performing perfectly would appear on all major websites, online magazines, and television entertainment news. It wasn't just because of his identity as Jin Shirihua's boyfriend, but because of his shocking performance. He was going to become famous overnight. Up until now, the two girls still felt like they were dreaming. Even when they were interacting with the audience, they could not help but look at Chen Guang, who was sitting on the stage under the spotlight. The other members of the band looked at Chen Guang under the spotlight with envy. They were all in the band, and they were all playing accompaniment. But he could be looked up to by millions of people under the spotlight, while they could only hide in the dark, not knowing when they would be able to make a name for themselves. Of course, there was really nothing to be jealous of. With this ability of his, he was really invincible in the entertainment industry. Playing two pianos at the slightest disagreement. Did the way you debuted have to be so overbearing? Lin Jingwei, who was in the VIP area, kept poking at Bai Hua's heart. Brother Bai, aren't you embarrassed? Didn't you just say that Brother Chen Guang couldn't help Jin Shirui with her career? But in the blink of an eye, he saved such a hopeless situation. To be honest, if I were a woman and had a boyfriend like this, there's no need to say anything. I'd marry him first and think about other things later. Gao Ye secretly stepped on Lin Jingwei's foot and glared at him fiercely. Bai Hua was depressed and annoyed, but he also looked at Gao Ye gratefully. My sister-in-law is so gentle, knowing to save me some face at a time like this. Bai Hua did not know that Gao Ye was crying out for Sun Xiaoxuan. She was afraid that Chen Guang and Jin Shirui would put on an act. At this time, Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage repeatedly persuaded the audience to leave the stage and go home to rest. It was late at night, and everyone was tired, but no one listened. Gradually, the audience's voices became more and more unified. Chen Guang, brother all-purpose. Chen Guang, brother all-purpose. Sing a song. Sing a song. It turned out that more and more people in the audience knew that the talented pianist was actually Jin Shirui's boyfriend. This was a heaven-sent opportunity, so how could they not encourage the two of them to make love on stage? Since the two of you have already announced your relationship, and you're now Jin Shirui's boyfriend, don't even think about running away quietly. Sing a chorus. Sing a chorus. Sing a chorus. Someone took the lead and shouted. It seemed that what everyone wanted to see most was for Chen Guang and Jin Shirui to sing a love song together. Jin Shirui's face turned red. She was so nervous that she didn't know what to do. But at this time Jiang Yage, who was standing at the side, joined in. Sing a chorus. Sing a chorus. That's right. Let's sing Hiroshima Love. Jin Shirui waved her hands. Don't. Not good. Chen Guang has never sung before. Chen Guang's expression changed. He just wanted to run away. But on the other side, some unlucky scumbag. No, it was a guitar player who found a microphone and shoved it in front of him. On the big screen, the audience saw this scene and cheered even more happily. If you don't sing, we won't leave. Sing a song. Sing a song. Even the people in front of the TV and computers were happily shouting at the screen, as if the people on the other side could hear their support. Jiang Yage ran up and grabbed Chen Guang's shoulder, dragging him to the front of the stage. Brother-in-law, come here. Chen Guang was dragged to the center of the stage by Jiang Yage with a pale face. Under the spotlight, he stood shoulder to shoulder with Jin Shirui. At that moment, the audience felt that the man was tall and handsome, and the woman was gentle and pretty. They were really a match made in heaven. Chapter 537. I don't know how to sing. Forget it. No way. Everyone's looking forward to it. If you don't sing, we won't be able to leave today. Jiang Yage tried her best to tease her. On the other side, Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye retreated with pale faces. Don't. Jiang Yage, don't do it. Don't. Oh no. Lin Jingwei held his head, as if he had seen the biggest tragedy in the world. Gao Ye shook her head violently. It's too scary, too scary. Bai Hua didn't understand. What's wrong with you guys? Lin Jingwei seemed to have made up his mind to recall this painful experience. When he was a freshman, we dragged him to a KTV and forced him to sing. And then, Bai Hua asked. Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye looked like they couldn't bear to think about it. We regretted it for 3 whole months. Bai Hua quietly took out his earphones and turned the volume to the maximum. On the other side, Chen Guang couldn't dissuade Jiang Yage. He smiled bitterly and nodded. Okay. I'll sing a few lines. Just a few simple lines. But I'm not that good. Please don't take offense. No. As long as you're willing to sing, Jiang Yage said cheerfully. Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye cursed in their hearts. You're just saying that's not good? Then I'll be the singing sage when I'm tone deaf. 10 minutes later, tens of thousands of viewers left the stage in an orderly and peaceful atmosphere. 5 minutes ago, Zhongnan TV cut off the live stream and began to play commercials. Chen Guang's Weibo had more than 12 million followers, but now he had lost more than 100,000 followers. In short, the whole thing was unbearable for many people, and they blamed themselves deeply. Encouraging Jin Shiyue to sing a song with her boyfriend must have been the worst decision they had made this year. As the saying goes, the demonic voice lingers on for 3 days. It should be at this level. Even when they left the venue, everyone's minds were still in a daze, and their consciousness was a little muddled. They were like walking corpses. What? You asked us how Chen Guang sang? Let's just forget about it and look forward to a better tomorrow, okay? Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were the first victims. As 2 professional singers, they kept singing Hiroshima Love in a low voice over and over again because they had almost forgotten how to sing this song. If it was just out of tune, the 2 of them would not have suffered such heavy injuries. What was more frightening was that Chen Guang's singing had a magical quality that could shock the listener's mind and cause them to completely forget the correct tune. The 2 of them simply could not understand. A person with such tyrannical piano playing skills should have a very good sense of music. But why did he sing like this? Did God open many windows for him and then shut his mouth fairly? Congratulations, congratulations. In short, today's concert was very successful. Everyone is happy, ha ha ha. Bai Hua and the others gathered backstage. Chen Guang's face was stiff, and he was not very happy. He was also puzzled like everyone else. He thought that since his piano skills had improved, there would be no problem with his singing voice. He felt that he should be able to control the tune easily. But as soon as the words left his mouth, he regretted it. Sigh, Brother Wei's upright image has been smeared with a layer of stain. I'm happy. Since I'm unhappy, I can't let others be happy. He crossed his arms and stood between Jin Shiyue and Bai Hua. Thank you for your support, Brother Bai Hua. I didn't disappoint Brother Bai Hua, did I? Did you like the song I played? Bai Hua rolled his eyes. Alright, I've already accepted my fate. Don't be so ruthless. Fine, I admit that you can help Shiyue in her career, okay? This is also good. I can see Shiyue find true happiness, and I can finally let go of my hands and feet to pursue my own life. As he spoke, Bai Hua turned his head and put his arm around Lin Jingwei's shoulder. By the way, Jingwei, does Chunyu like savory tofu pudding or sweet tofu pudding? Chen Guang coughed. Get lost, I like stinky tofu pudding. Today, he was also the center of attention. Even backstage, the concert's artists and staff took advantage of the end of the concert and were about to go to the celebration party to greet Chen Guang. Chen Guang also gave Jin Shiyue enough face and acted as half a host. He was well-mannered and polite. Later, he would naturally have a part in the celebration party. After all, he was the hero of today's event. At this moment, Jiang Yage, who had changed her clothes, ran out from backstage with a pale face. She went to Chen Guang's side and pulled him to the side. Not good, not good. Chen Guang was puzzled. What's wrong? Just now, there was news from the celebration party's hotel. They said there's a minibus with a police car behind it. Jiang Yage panted. And then, Sister Shiyue's grandfather is also watching the live broadcast of our concert. He saw you on TV just now. And now he wants to see his grandson-in-law. He purposely launched a surprise attack without informing us. If it wasn't for the hotel's insider, you would have walked right into a trap. Chen Guang was also frightened. Although Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage's family background was only a rumor, he had more or less guessed it over the past few days. If he and Jin Shiyue really had that kind of relationship, then it would be fine to meet the elders. But now it was just an imposter. What grandson-in-law? I don't want to meet him. If I meet him and accidentally give him a gift, then it would really be like stuffing mud into my pants. Even if it's not sh*t, it's sh*t. The old man wasn't feeling well, so he left first. At this time, Jin Shiyue also changed her clothes and hurriedly ran over. Oh no, oh no. Yage, quickly send Chen Guang away. Jiang Yage nodded and pulled Chen Guang to the back door. Let's run first. Chen Guang nodded and turned to say hello to Lin Jingwei. Little Lin, let's talk another day. I have something important to do today, so I'll go first. The two trotted all the way to the back door of the workers' sports complex. Jiang Yage sent Chen Guang out of the door. Looking left and right, she looked around and saw that there was no one else around. Suddenly she called out, Dear Guang, don't go crazy. Chen Guang shuddered as if he had been electrocuted. Jiang Yage pounced on him and kissed his face. Even if you're unhappy, I have to kiss you. Chen Guang pushed her away. Damn it. Don't make trouble. Forget it. I've kissed you. I really have to go. He was really afraid of Jiang Yage. It's not like there's no one who doesn't want you. Is there a need to act like an unscrupulous shrew? Every time they meet, do you have to scare people? Thank you for today, Jiang Yage said again. No need to thank me. It's just a small matter. When a friend is in trouble, I help him. Goodbye, goodbye. Jiang Yage smiled. She took out her phone and waved it in front of Chen Guang. Anyway, thank you very much. If it weren't for you, our concert would have been over. Remember to open WeChat when you go back tonight. It's a real super reward. You definitely won't work for nothing today. For a moment, Chen Guang felt conflicted in his heart. He wanted to take a cheap look, but at the same time, he felt that something was amiss. However, Jiang Yage did not give him a chance to speak and slammed the door shut. Forget it. Let's go home. Chen Guang went around the back door and went out of the workers' sports complex. In any case, today was a big harvest. Chapter 538. There was still a sea of people outside. Tens of thousands of people leaving at the same time made the outside of the workers' stadium crowded with people. Chen Guang put on his hat and followed the crowd out. Suddenly, when he went down the stairs, he looked down and saw a family of 3. His eyes narrowed. This family looked sloppy and ordinary. A pair of middle-aged men and a son who looked like a high school student walked down with the crowd. They belonged to the kind of ordinary people who would not be found if they were thrown into a crowd. But Chen Guang remembered this family clearly. He would recognize them even if they turned into ashes. When his family's hot pot restaurant had a food poisoning incident, if he remembered correctly, the muscles of the high school student's son's legs had completely atrophied because of the poisoning. Not to mention walking, it was difficult to even lift his legs in bed. The court ruled that the Chen family had to pay a few million yuan in compensation, and 800,000 yuan was awarded to this family. At that time, this family also made a lot of noise. But now they appeared here safe and sound. Especially the high school student's son. He had grown up to be at least 185 meters tall. He was not small either. If he remembered correctly, some time ago, his father had just paid off the court's judgment. When the family went to the scene to collect the money, only the parents came, not the son. So that's how it is. You have recovered long ago. You have lived a good life. And you took the 800,000 yuan with peace of mind. At that time, Chen Guang had seen this kid's poison injury with his own eyes. Looking at the skinny and bruised legs, he also felt that he should pay the money. But now, he discovered that the other party was perfectly fine. And a huge suspicion suddenly arose in his heart. He was injured to that extent, and he was fine. And he could recover completely? No one would believe it if he said there was no ghost. He was about to push through the crowd and rush down to stop the family, to find them and find out what was going on, but there was a scream next to him. Chen Guang! Oh my God! Brother All-Rounder! Give me an autograph! He accidentally raised his head too high, and people recognized him with the light. The crowd suddenly became restless, and many people tried to squeeze in his direction. In fact, he shouldn't have been so popular under normal circumstances. But today's situation was special. He had just shown off his godly skills at the concert. So it was only right that these people who had seen the live scene worshipped him. By the time Chen Guang managed to squeeze his way out of the crowd, the family had already disappeared. He stomped his foot angrily. F***ck. Until he got a taxi back to the hotel, he was still absent-minded. His mind was filled with the image of the happy family. It wasn't that he couldn't bear to see others living a good life, But if the so-called good life of others was built on fraud and deceit, and the ones who were cheated of their money were their own families, then it wouldn't be right no matter what. It's not that I can't accept your family's recovery, but your recovery is too complete. It looks like you've recovered a long time ago, but when you came to ask for money last month, you said you've become disabled. Previously, Chen Guang had also visited a few families in private. Those families were mostly fine, but the signs of poisoning were far less serious than the children of this family. Perhaps some people would say, "You're already so rich now. Why do you have to be so concerned about a mere 800,000 yuan?" But everyone understood the logic. But having money doesn't mean you can be cheated for free. When Ma Yin was shopping on the street, and a 100 yuan note fell out of his pocket, do you think he would bend down to pick it up? The more he thought about it, the more annoyed Chen Guang was. Xianqin obviously wouldn't be back tonight, so he called his dad. "You finally remember that you have a dad. I thought you became famous and had a girlfriend, so you forgot about your dad." As soon as the call connected, Chen Guoli started to complain. "You're not even as obedient as Lingshan. A few days ago, Lingshan remembered Army Day and said that I'm a retired soldier, so she bought me a sweater." Hearing those words, Chen Guang felt a mouthful of blood welling up in his heart as he continued. "If I recall correctly, I just called you and Mom last week. Also, why did you buy a sweater on such a hot day? Don't tell me it's a clearance sale? So what if it's a discount? I can't wear it just because it's on sale? At least she bought it for me. What about you? By the way, have you been on steroids recently? I saw you winning the World Darts Championship on the sports channel in the morning, and now you're playing the piano on Zhongnan TV? Your mom was so angry that she was supposed to play the finale of Ode to Joy today, but your little bullet piano blocked it." Chen Guoli said again. It sounded like he was lecturing someone, but in fact, he couldn't hide the smugness in his words. "I can't help it. Ever since I became enlightened, I became a genius. Do you know what a genius is? I can solve calculus at the age of 3, solve Goldbach's conjecture at 8, and win the Tchaikovsky Music Prize at 12. I was enlightened a little late, but it's fine. I can still live for a few more decades. Dad, you can also appear in the history books in the future. You can be called the greatest Chen Guang's father." Chen Guoli said, "Save it. If you have something to say, just say it. I'm watching the game. By the way, remember to do a paternity test with me when you come back. Your mother and I both think that you're too monstrous. You don't look like my genes at all. I seriously suspect that you were born with the wrong baby in the hospital." Chen Guang was speechless. After being jested by Chen Guoli for a long time, Chen Guang still couldn't get any information about the poisoning case. Once the topic started, Chen Guoli would start to ramble. He would ask if Chen Guang and Jiang Ye's relationship was harmonious. He would then ask if Chen Guang and Jin Shuriwa were faking their relationship. Or else he would teach Chen Guang a lesson. He told Chen Guang to be down to earth and not think about selling his body to get to the top of life. In the end, Chen Guoli couldn't change the topic, so he said, "Anyway, I've already given the money. What's the big deal? We don't need the money now. Can we not dwell on the past? Look forward and be optimistic, okay?" Then, this irresponsible father decisively hung up the phone, turned off his phone and disappeared. Chen Guang blankly sat by the bed. He naturally knew that Chen Guoli was hiding something. There must be something behind the poisoning case, and it might even involve someone extraordinary. Chen Guang knew that, but he still felt unhappy in his heart. At the very least, Chen Guang should let him know some inside information, and let him decide if he wants to let this matter end here, or get to the bottom of it. "You can't make a decision for me, and I'm not a kid anymore. I can't accept your perfunctory way of doing things." It wasn't just Chen Guoli and Chen Guang who were playing dumb. All the uncles in Lilai County, who knew the slightest bit of inside information, seemed to have been greeted by Chen Guoli. That was why Chen Guang had returned to Lilai County several times to investigate on his own. But to no avail. Even when Chen Guang sent Fan Lingshan back to Lilai County to acknowledge her family, he only allowed him to stay in the county for a day, before he was half-willingly chased out of the county. Of course, at that time, Chen Guang was also busy dealing with the statue of God, and the heavy responsibility on Liuli's shoulders. He was so busy that he didn't have time to spare. However, things were different now. Today, he finally managed to deal with the statue of God with the Qilin arm by accident. So far, in the world and the cup that he had experienced, he had completed a grand slam for all the god statues that could be planted. Without the risk of becoming the king of anal prolapse at any time, Chen Guang no longer had any worries in his heart. Coincidentally, he bumped into that family, so he couldn't help but start to think about the past that had caused him so much trouble. He stomped his feet in anger and gritted his teeth as he muttered to himself, "Forget it. Since all of you are playing dumb with me, I'll do it myself." If he went back to his hometown and faced that group of uncles who had beaten him up, he would only repeat the same mistake. He would continue to look for those ordinary victims of the poisoning case, but he wouldn't be able to find any clues. Chen Guang felt that being able to bump into this family in Yinjing was simply a great thing that fell from the sky. They were the best entry point to investigate the truth. How can you recover like this? You're like a gecko that has its tail broken and reborn. But now that he had lost them, how could he find them in such a huge Yinjing with so many people? Or should he go back to Dechuan and wait for them? This could also be considered as a solution. Perhaps this was the only way. Forget it, he would go to bed. Just as he was about to lie down on the bed, the phone rang again. He picked it up and saw that it was Shuelin, who he had almost forgotten about. Make a long story short, in front of little comrade Shui, Chen Guang was still able to put on airs. That was how confident he was when others had something to ask of him. "I'm very sorry to call you so late. Brother Chen Guang, it's like this. In order to keep my body in a high-intensity training state at all times, I'm now doing assault training in a special training camp in Shund. It takes about 4 hours to drive from the training camp to Yanjing. So, if you're ready, please let me know in advance, and I'll find a car to come back immediately." Chen Guang had just been perfunctory with Shuelin before. He didn't expect him to come so soon, so he found an excuse to let him waste time, to cover up the awkwardness of calling him over so casually. But Shuelin took his words as the golden rule, and even plunged into the special training camp. Okay, I'll see how it goes tomorrow." Chen Guang counted the time, and was about to hang up after saying that he would just get 600,000 yuan the day after tomorrow. On the other end, Wu Tong's voice suddenly came from Shuelin's side. "Give me the phone," Wu Tong said to Shuelin fiercely, and then said, "You've made me so depressed. Finally I got a phone. Little Shuezi, go somewhere cool, the phone is mine." "Hey, Sister Wu Tong," Shuelin shouted in a low voice. "This is a closed training, you can't take a phone, it's against the rules. Don't get me into trouble." "Nonsense, you're the one who got into trouble. Who asked you to be so cocky in front of me? It's too late for you to regret it now. If I'm caught by the disciplinary committee, I'll also say that you borrowed my phone, and you'll be the scapegoat," Wu Tong said proudly. Shuelin's low voice was getting further and further away. Obviously, Wu Tong had taken the phone away. She kept her promise. "You ungrateful little brother. How long have you been in Yinjing? You don't even know how to call me. You only care about kissing your celebrity girlfriend all day long, don't you?" Wu Tong's muffled voice was heard. It seemed that she was hiding in a place with a lot of echoes. Chen Guang guessed that it was most likely the toilet. He said angrily, "You don't even have a phone. I heard from Sister Tangying that the number you called her is not in service. How can I call you? Where's the telepathy? Also, what celebrity girlfriend? You know, other people were afraid that Su Lijing would settle the score with me, so they gave me a protective talisman. I dared to fight with Su Lijing to the death, because I thought I had you, a second-generation official, to back me up. But you, at the critical moment, I didn't even see you. I was so scared that I almost had a nervous breakdown. And now you're blaming me?" Wu Tong was also quite embarrassed. She sighed after a long while. "I'm sorry for putting my dad in trouble." Chen Guang waved his hand at the air. "I know what you're apologizing for. Uncle Wu also helped a lot. It's more convenient for him to do his work by sending you away. By the way, why don't you come to the training camp to see me? I've been locked up for more than a month, and I'm going moldy." Can you bring me some fresh air from outside? Wu Tong rolled her eyes and revealed her real purpose. Chen Guang hesitated. This isn't a good idea? Can I enter the special training camp? I don't believe that I'll be shot before I even get close to them. You couldn't enter before, but you can now. Why? Because of your good disciple little Shuezi. His words carry more weight than mine in the army. You can come in as his personal instructor. Obviously, Wu Tong had planned this when she snatched the phone. To be precise, Wu Tong had been planning this ever since she met Xue Lin in the closed special training camp yesterday. Chen Guang's mind also became active. On one hand, it was not easy for him to come to Yanjing, so it was reasonable for him to visit Wu Tong. On the other hand, perhaps he could try to find the whereabouts of the family in Yanjing through Wu Tong or Xue Lin. Also, he could not get through to Wenwen's phone, nor could he find her on the internet, so he felt uneasy. If he added all three things together and stuffed them into the training camp, there might be a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. In such a big country, what was the most convenient way to find people? It was the state machine. Okay, I'll come tomorrow. How do I come? Can you send me an address? Chen Guang asked. No need, I'll arrange it. Just go out tomorrow morning, and there'll be a car to pick you up, Wu Tong said casually. How do you know how to pick me up without even asking me where I am? Chen Guang asked a super stupid question. Wu Tong's answer was 2 words. Hee. Chen Guang instantly understood. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. The instructor is here, so I have to hide my phone. My phone is on vibrate, so don't call me later. I'll hide it in a super secret place. Damn, luckily I brought a plastic bag. Little Shuezi, that broken phone. Can forget about taking it back. Hang up yourself. I'll let you hear some interesting sounds. Ever since the particularly interesting and large-scale incident with Chen Guang at the hospital, Wu Tong had obviously opened some kind of Pandora's box in her body. Her moral integrity was gone, and there were signs that she was developing in the direction of Dirty Tong. She seemed to be about to explode after being locked in the closed military camp for the past month. Rustle, rustle, it was the sound of the plastic bag. Then Paji Ziliu Lord Guang, who was lying on the bed, suddenly had a certain image appear in his mind as he silently looked at the 3 words on the phone. He thought to himself, should I hang up the phone and call back? Vibrate. The first-generation Iron Spear raised his head and roared at the sky, waiting to kill him. Chapter 539. He silently hung up the phone and felt the cool breeze blowing through the window. He felt a little sad and a little pain in the ass. Chen Guang felt that Sister Wu Tong was in charge of killing and not burying. Although she was enjoying it, he was left hanging in the air. He couldn't go up or down. Although he knew that there would be some special services in this hotel, it was different now. He was also a public figure. It was impossible for him to have the courage to call for some special health care. Otherwise, the news would be released on the internet tomorrow. Jin Shiyue's rumored boyfriend is unwilling to be lonely and calls for a call girl late at night. There was another subtitle. Can the goddess's boyfriend really enjoy a happy sex life? The star's strange dreams beneath the surface love. This was King awkward. Forget it, the old man also had the Qilin arm. In the end, it was better to do it himself. It was just that there was no accompaniment to the wine. There was a tiger in the heart, but there was no rose. Wait, if I remember correctly, when I ran away from the workers' stadium, someone seemed to have said that there would be a large scale tonight? I almost forgot. He quickly turned on his phone and logged into WeChat. Sure enough, there was a string of message numbers behind the names of Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue. He clicked on Jin Shiyue's message first. It was mostly about thanking him for coming to the concert today. She was especially grateful that he had saved the day and so on. There was a hint of reservation between the lines, which was her style. Returning to the initial interface, looking at Jiang Yage's smiling profile picture, Chen Guang only hesitated for 5 seconds before he decisively opened it. The ancients did not lie. Good people will be rewarded. I apologize for my impatience with you before. There were a total of 10 photos in front of him. Just as Jiang Yage said, it was an unprecedented large scale. It was comparable to a certain teacher Chen's photography work. All of them were taken by Jiang Yage herself in the bathroom. Unprecedented and unrestrained, her skin was covered in layers of fine water droplets, suffused with a strange pink color. It was unknown whether it was because of the light, or because the blood in her body was boiling. One of the photos was taken from top to bottom, and one could see a small clump of black grass hidden in the middle of two mountain peaks. Her perfect figure was completely exposed, and she was clearly showing off. Look, my lower abdomen is so flat, without any excess fat. There was another one where she was sitting on the edge of the bathtub, and it was taken from the bottom up. The lens seemed to be covered with mist, obscuring a certain mysterious area. However, the more hazy the beauty, the more it could stir the fire in others' hearts. The biggest one was a front view of her in the mirror. She was standing very close to the mirror, and her exquisite figure was clearly displayed in the mirror. Everything looked so clear, and the expression on her face was hazy and charming, but her left hand formed a V shape, betraying her usual playfulness and cuteness. Damn it! If it wasn't for the fact that he could see her face in two of the photos, and if it wasn't for the fact that her figure looked very familiar, Chen Guang would have thought that she had found these photos on the internet. Sigh, towards this classmate, Master Guang was also helpless. Although he knew that something was wrong, he was also a normal man. He really couldn't resist the unscrupulous photo attack of the dignified left and right-hand duo's top superstar, Enchantress Jiang Yage. My Buddha, I repent to you, I'm about to fall. As the saying goes, golden spears and armored horses fight 100 battles against 1,000 armies. About 10 minutes later, Chen Guang only silently threw a pile of tissues to the side of the bed, and then gave a simple reply to Jiang Yage. Awesome, I'm done. Thank you. The photos have been deleted, don't worry. Jiang Yage must have fallen asleep, and didn't reply. Every concert was a huge physical test for the artists. They had sung and danced on stage for more than 2 hours today, and they must be exhausted. After a good sleep, Chen Guang woke up to a series of hurried knocks on the door early the next morning. He didn't even have time to wash up. He hurriedly put on his clothes and opened the door. Chen Guang was in a bad mood, and he cursed. Who the hell is so wicked as to come knocking on my door so early in the morning? He opened the door and saw two men in military uniforms standing at the door. He immediately understood that they must be the people that Wu Tong had promised to pick him up yesterday. You're Chen Guang, right? The square-faced man in military uniform said coldly with a straight face. Chen Guang felt that there was something wrong with this guy. I didn't offend you, so why do you act like you've eaten gunpowder? Why is your tone so harsh? That's me. That's good. Come with us. We're on a tight schedule, and we don't have time to waste with you. The other black-faced man said as he reached out to pull Chen Guang. F***CK. Chen Guang was immediately unhappy. Are you guys crazy? Not only did you come knocking on my door early in the morning without a word, I'll let you off a little since you're here to help. But for no reason, you're giving me a cold shoulder. I didn't even let you take my things, and you're dragging me away. Did I dig up your ancestral graves, or what did I do to offend you? What's wrong with you? Hey, you two. Don't overdo it. As Chen Guang spoke, he exerted a little force in his arm and broke free from the square-faced man who reached out to pull him. We're on a mission. I hope you'll cooperate. The square-faced man's face darkened. All right. I don't know who gave you the order, and I don't understand why you're acting like you're the best in the world. But if I were you, and I was really in such a hurry, since you could find me here, you should know my phone number. You should have called me half an hour earlier to inform me, instead of arresting me like you're arresting a criminal. Chen Guang turned around and pointed at the things in the room. Are you guys blind? Can't you see that there are bags of things waiting to be packed in my room? Your soldier's swift and decisive, but I'm not. Seeing that the square-faced man wanted to say something, Chen Guang waved his hand. All right, shut up. I'm not going to serve you anymore. As he spoke, he took out his phone and planned to tell Wu Tong. If her so-called private car was what these two people were like, then he should save it. It might be more comfortable if he ran over himself. The two clearly didn't expect that not only would Chen Guang be uncooperative, but he also had such a bad temper. You dare to be unreasonable after committing a crime? You've got guts. The black-faced soldier was obviously not someone with a good temper. He glared at Chen Guang and raised his hand to grab Chen Guang's phone. Chen Guang quickly retracted his right hand and hid the phone behind his back. His left hand, which moved later, grabbed the black-faced soldier's wrist and exerted a little more strength. The black-faced soldier felt as if he was being clamped by an iron clamp. No matter how much strength he exerted, he couldn't pull his wrist back. Instead, Chen Guang's grip became tighter and tighter. The shock in his heart was indescribable. He wasn't a flashy martial artist. His close-range combat skills were ranked among the top in the Yanjing military. Yet, he was easily restrained by someone's left hand. "Let go!" he shouted. Chen Guang raised his left hand and pushed him back. The black-faced soldier staggered back a few steps before he could stabilize himself. The two exchanged blows for less than 3 seconds. But Chen Guang had completely gained the upper hand with just his left hand. The black-faced soldier's breathing became rapid. His chest heaved up and down. He was a little emotional. The square-faced soldier looked at Chen Guang with caution. He felt that something was wrong. Chen Guang's strength was stronger than he had imagined. That's not right. The intelligence showed that he was just a powerless executive of a state-owned enterprise. He had the tendency to flee overseas. The two of us were ordered to come and restrain him. How could a so-called executive have such strength? Stop joking. There must be a problem somewhere. Forget it. I'll stabilize the situation first. Hey Z, look at your communicator. Did you see wrongly? The square-faced soldier turned his head slightly and ordered the black-faced soldier beside him. Hazy nodded and quickly turned around to take out his communicator. Chen Guang was already very impatient. All right, that's it. I won't make things difficult for you. It's my fault. I shouldn't have disturbed the important national equipment. I can't afford to provoke you, but I can at least hide. Chen Guang waved his hand and ordered them to leave. He planned to close the door first. As a normal person, he really couldn't communicate with these two guys who were spewing bullets. Wait! Mr. Chen, wait! The square-faced soldier raised his hand. Chen Guang turned to look at him. What? You're afraid that I'll tell on you? It's fine. Don't worry. I'm not a 3-year-old who will tell on the teacher for no reason. Maybe you're really busy. You've troubled the two of you to come and pick me up. Maybe I've really delayed your important national affairs. I understand. I'm really sorry. There seems to be some misunderstanding here. Hey Z had just looked at his communicator. He looked a little embarrassed. It's my negligence. I confused Mr. Chun with our other mission target. I almost believed you. Can't you be more professional? You're soldiers. This isn't a primary school kid's house. As taxpayers, we pay tens of millions in taxes every year to support you guys? Chen Guang curled his lips. The two of them were red in the face and extremely embarrassed. The black-faced soldier on the other side, Hey Z, had no choice but to look at his communicator again. It showed that this Chen Guang seemed to be the special instructor of Shun's special training camp. It was fine to show him a name. Hey Z used his hand to cover most of the communicator screen. He only revealed 2 names and showed them to Chen Guang. Mr. Chen, look. This is really a misunderstanding. Chen Guang looked at the name between Hazy's fingers. He was amused. What a coincidence. It showed that it was Chen Guang. It's like this. The 2 messages came one after the other. Chen Guang's was first, and Mr. Chen's was second. His room is opposite yours. When I saw the second message, I thought that the person in the information department typed the wrong words. I also thought that Chen Guang quietly changed rooms. This is really... Hazy scratched his head. The square-faced soldier looked at him speechlessly. This Hazy was good at everything. He dared to fight, and his skills were excellent. It was just that he was careless sometimes. This was a joke. Captain Qian, you talk to Mr. Chen. I'll go to room 402 opposite to find Chen Guang. Although Hazy was careless, he was not stupid. He turned around and slipped away. Chen Guang's room 403, and Chen Guang's room 402. It was easy to get them mixed up, if one was not careful. Hazy began to knock on the door again. Chen Guang looked at Captain Qian. He turned around to clean up the room and said, Actually, Cheng and Chen's pronunciation is different. Captain Qian, you're from Dechuan, right? Do you have a nasal and lateral accent? Captain Qian blushed. That's true. I'm from Lilai County, Xiang City. Chen Guang coughed a few times. What do you mean by hometown? Thinking back carefully, all the boys in high school relied on guessing for the first pinyin question during the language exam. It was basically the same for the top classes. This was indeed the tradition of Lilai County. That's awkward. I'm also from Lilai County. I graduated from Lilai High. What about you? Chen Guang asked as he cleaned up. Captain Qian was slightly happy to meet someone from the same hometown in a foreign land. Then he blushed and smiled bitterly. My family was poor when I was young. I didn't go to high school and joined the army directly. It's good to be a soldier. Many of my buddies have joined the army. My dad is also a retired soldier. Captain Qian felt that although this specially hired instructor, Chen Guang, was a young man, he had a good upbringing. Of course, this was also because it was comfortable and pleasing to the eye to see someone from the same hometown. In fact, strictly speaking, Chen Guang didn't show much of a good temper just now. Chen Guang couldn't be bothered to haggle with them anymore. If they really wanted to arrest him and mistakenly treated him as a criminal, then there was really nothing strange about their attitude just now. He had already committed a crime, and they had already used the special forces. If they wanted to arrest him, they couldn't just let him eat a bowl of wontons and sing a song, right? The two chatted and became familiar with each other. However, Captain Qian didn't enter the door. Instead, he focused on the door of room 402 opposite. Blackie was still knocking on the door, but there was no movement from inside. Notebook, change of clothes, phone charger, tea, sports bag, dart box. Chen Guang was stuffing miscellaneous things into a large backpack. At this moment, the door of room 402 finally opened, but there was no one inside. Instead, a black muzzle peeked out. It was extremely creepy. This was the occupational danger of soldiers and police officers. Sometimes you thought it was a small mission, but in the process of carrying out the specific mission, the situation often changed in an instant, and the next second, your life would be in danger. Every year, many soldiers and police officers would die in the line of duty. They used their lives to protect the country and the people's property and lives. This was the situation at this moment. In an instant, Chen Guang, Captain Qian, and Blackie's hair stood on end. Blackie's face darkened even more. Motherf ****. This executive named Chen Guang is at risk of absconding. It seems that it's not possible for him to abscond at all, but he was already prepared to run. However, he didn't expect the relevant departments to arrive so quickly. In a panic, he took out his weapon and planned to fight to the death. In a flash, Blackie suddenly dodged to the other side of the door, while Captain Qian rushed into Chen Guang's room. He opened his arms and subconsciously growled, "Mr. Chen, get down!" He was really a competent and responsible soldier. In this life-and-death situation, he subconsciously expanded his body to protect Chen Guang. After all, Chen Guang's current identity was that of a civilian, while he was a soldier. Chen Guang, who was stuffing the dart box into his backpack, opened the box at lightning speed, grabbed a dart, raised his hand, and threw it. The dart flew out like lightning, passing by Captain Qian's waist and hitting the muzzle behind the door. Chapter 540. It was a long story, but from the moment Chen Guang saw that the situation was bad to the moment he threw the dart into the muzzle of the opponent's gun, only a second had passed. A scream came from behind the door of room 402, and the opponent's hand that was holding the gun was fractured. Chen Guang had practically used all the strength in his Qilin arm to throw the dart out of desperation. Even elites like Xuelin and Heizi weren't his opponents, so how could an ordinary person like Chen Guang deal with it? The pistol also fell to the ground, but Blackie reacted quickly. He raised his leg and kicked the door. There was a loud bang, and another scream came from behind the door. In the next moment, Blackie had already pounced in and pressed the middle-aged man who was hiding behind the door to the ground. Captain Qian glanced at Chen Guang and thanked him. He then turned around to help Heizi completely control Chen Guang. On the other hand, Chen Guang did not feel anything as he calmly packed his luggage. When he was done, He carried his big bag to the door of room 402. Inside, Hazy and Captain Qian had already tied up the state-owned enterprise executive like a big dumpling. The gun that fell to the ground was also locked and held in Captain Qian's hand. Captain Qian looked at the muzzle in shock. The entire tungsten steel dart was completely embedded in the gun barrel, and only a small part of the tail was exposed. Chen Guang didn't shoot just now, or else he would have been injured by the explosion. The more Captain Qian looked, the more shocked he was. This special instructor was a bit too powerful. From the sudden change to him throwing the dart and hitting the muzzle, it was less than 0.5 seconds. Moreover, at that time, his body was completely spread out, and the opponent's muzzle was hidden behind the door. The flight path of the dart was probably extremely small. No, if I remember correctly, I should have completely blocked it at that time. In other words, his dart made a turn in the air, and then stabbed into the muzzle with such a terrifying force. What kind of amazing eyesight, what kind of terrifying strength, what kind of swift and fierce reaction. This person was playing with the darts to the point of perfection. Captain Qian, the surname Cheng's right hand has a comminuted fracture. Hazy checked Chen Guang's injury and said in shock, "Oh my God." Captain Qian sucked in a breath of cold air. At this time, Chen Guang stood at the door with an innocent face and said helplessly, "It seems that your mission is quite important. Why don't you go about your business, and I'll go to Shun by myself." Captain Qian waved his hands. No. It's also our mission to pick you up. Don't worry about it. Blackie and I are just special agents in charge of the actual operation. The local troops and the police are on their way. We'll hand him over to them immediately, and there'll be nothing left for us to do. Soldiers had always worshipped the strong, not to mention that Chen Guang was ridiculously strong. Chen Guang's move just now, in addition to the strength he displayed when he easily pinched Hazy with his left hand, was enough to make Captain Qian and Hazy respect him from the bottom of their hearts. The three of them waited together for more than 10 minutes, and the backup came late. When they heard that Chen Guang actually carried a gun with him, the level of the case was raised again. Previously, some of his problems were still in doubt, but he actually took it out when he was being investigated. This could only mean that the problem with him was more serious than they had imagined. After a while, Chen Guang finally got into Captain Qian and Hazy's car and went to Shun's special training camp together. "Instructor Chen, this time, are you going to the special training camp to train Captain Shui alone? Or do we all have the opportunity?" After sitting in the car for a short while, the outspoken Hazy couldn't help but ask. He even changed his title to instructor. Last night, Wu Tong's phone call had been hung up too quickly, and Chen Guang didn't know how she communicated with the special training camp. For a moment, he really didn't know how to answer Hazy's question. He was afraid that he would say something wrong, and it wouldn't match up with Wu Tong and Shui Lin's communication with the troops. It was a small matter to cheat Shui Lin on the issue of discipline, but he couldn't cheat Sister Wu Tong. "Hazy, have you forgotten the military discipline? Don't ask questions that you shouldn't ask." Captain Qian saw that Chen Guang didn't want to talk about it, so he shut Hazy's mouth. The three of them chatted along the way, and halfway through the car, Hazy suddenly said, "Instructor Chen, I don't want to criticize you, but you really have a bad temper. When you grabbed my hand just now, I thought it was clamped by steel pliers. Come on, you guys. I don't even know what's going on. I had a good sleep early in the morning, and it's fine that I was knocked out of bed by the two of you. But the moment you came, you started to talk nonsense. You even said that I committed a crime, and you even touched me first. How can I not be angry?" Chen Guang said angrily. Captain Qian apologized again. "It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding." Chen Guang, who was sitting in the back, pursed his lips. "Misunderstanding your face. It seems that the two of you usually handle cases like this, but it's no wonder." Chen Guang pulled out his gun at the slightest disagreement today. It shows that most of the criminals that the two of them usually face are vicious people, and the cases that they handle are also major cases. Naturally, when they are on a mission, they are more vicious than ordinary police officers. Looking at their organization, they belong to the military, but they do some police-related work. Although they didn't ask which unit they belong to, they can't run away from the word special service in front of their names. Perhaps they are similar to Xue Lin's special team in the 5 capitals, specializing in some urgent and major situations that ordinary police officers and special forces can't handle. Oh right, after we go in, Instructor Chun, you must not wander around. Although you are a specially hired instructor, Shun's special training camp is a bit special. It has been many years since a non-staff member has entered Shun's special training camp. After going through a twisting and turning path for an hour, the tall green wall in front of them stood impressively in the valley. On both sides of the road were 2 mountains, and the solid wall that was several feet high was built at the exit of the valley. There were several dark holes on the wall, and no one knew how many pairs of eyes were watching outside. At the bottom of the high wall was a large iron gate that looked very thick. Even a layman like Chun Guang could smell the unusual atmosphere from the outside of Shun's special training camp. Captain Qian also greeted Chun Guang in advance. Okay, I understand. There are many rules in the army. I won't cause you any trouble. Chun Guang nodded. The 2 of them kept taking Chun Guang deep into the special training camp until Xue Lin stood under a building with its back against the mountain. Only then did they hand him over. Xue Lin was quite embarrassed. Brother Chun Guang, I'm really sorry to trouble you to come personally. Chun Guang examined Xue Lin. Although Xue Lin didn't grow any stronger in the past 2 days, Chun Guang's vigor alone made him look more imposing than 2 days ago. Evidently, Chun Guang had been exposed to the sun a lot. Don't be embarrassed. I didn't come for you. Oh right, where is Sister Wu Tong? In front of Xue Lin, Chun Guang was straightforward and didn't hide anything from him. Sister Wu Tong's usual training area isn't here. She has to go further in. So troublesome? Chun Guang was distressed. Then do you have any way to use Yanjing's Skynet to help me investigate people? Xue Lin was taken aback. She shook her head awkwardly. I really can't. I can use my connections to get Brother Chun Guang in as a special instructor. But using Skynet's resources to investigate people and things belongs to Sister Wu Tong's special training area. I can't do that unless it's a war. It's a little taboo for me to do that with my connections. Chun Guang was really confused by the extremely complicated things here. He hurriedly said, Okay, I won't beat around the bush. I came all the way here, not only to help you with the special training, but also to find out where a few people are at this time. I don't believe that Wu Tong can't find a way to see me if she asks me to come here. Make a long story short, what should I do to get to her side? I had this idea before, but then Sister Wu Tong changed her mind. What did she say? She heard that you were going to teach me something, so she wanted to get you in as an external instructor for the special training personnel. But then I told her that Brother Chun Guang once said that special training can't be taught easily, and there's no way to teach more people. So she rejected this idea. I think she might be planning to find an excuse to ask for personal leave, like she did last night, to come here. Chun Guang was in a dilemma. If what Xue Lin said was true, then didn't he come here for nothing? Although it was rare to meet Wu Tong, and he was very happy, and he might even be able to take advantage of her, his main purpose was not here. His motive for coming here was to investigate the family that was still in Yanjing and Wenwen's whereabouts. My motive was very pure. No, I have to think of another way. I must get to Wu Tong's special training area. Can you find a way to inform her? Ask her not to rush over tonight. I'll think about it carefully. I must go to her side. Arrange a place for me to stay, and I'll think about it by myself. You don't need to do surprise training for the time being. You're in good condition now. From now on, focus on recovery training, and I'll give you special training tomorrow night. Also, you better think about one thing in your heart. Other than your comrades, what else in this world can't you give up? I'm not joking with you. My special training can really kill you if you're careless. Xue Lin nodded and brought Chun Guang to the room that was already arranged for him in the 3rd-floor dormitory. However, after Chun Guang connected the computer, he didn't feel very good. There was no internet. Wasn't this a trap? He was really bored, so he simply picked up the script of Women and started to ponder over it. He didn't know if it was because of the heavenly Holy Grail, but his memory seemed to be much better than before. In the past, it was more uncomfortable for him to memorize boring things. Now, although he didn't have a photographic memory, he basically memorized the script seriously, and his efficiency was at least several times higher than before. Chen Guang guessed that this might be due to the extra 200 years he lived in the Sea of Time. After all, he was experienced, knowledgeable, and had a strong memory. About an hour later, someone knocked on his door. It was Captain Qian. "Instructor Chen, are you there?" Opening the door, Chen Guang looked at Captain Qian in confusion. "Captain Qian, what's the matter?" Captain Qian rubbed his hands in embarrassment. "It's like this, Instructor Chen. If I'm disturbing you, then I can't do anything about it." "I thought you were going to say you're embarrassed. If you can't do anything about it, then why are you pretending to be embarrassed? Don't they all say that soldiers are straightforward? You should learn from your little brother, Hazy. Just say what's the matter. I'm not used to you being like this." "It's like this. When Hazy and I were chatting with other colleagues, we talked about your amazing dart. My colleagues didn't quite believe it. So, what does this have to do with me? That's why I'd like to invite Instructor Chun to the training ground over there, so that everyone can see it for themselves. Of course, if it's possible, we also hope that Instructor Chun can teach us a thing or two. After all, you're the instructor, right?" Captain Qian was thick-skinned. He made such a shameless request without batting an eyelid. Chen Guang frowned. This wouldn't benefit him at all. "I'm not familiar with you guys, so why would I teach you guys? Besides, I used countless lives and countless holes on my body to get my dart skills. If I really wanted to teach others, I really wouldn't know how." "Well, maybe my request is a bit presumptuous, but I hope Instructor Chen can understand our feelings. You've seen it today. Our work is always in danger, so we're never willing to give up any opportunity to master more military skills. Maybe one day in the future, this skill can save our lives in actual combat." Qian Ming, step aside. "You can't convince him. Let me do it." At this moment, a spirited white-haired old man walked in from the door. Qian Ming's body tensed up. He stood at attention and saluted the man. He said loudly, "General Tan." "General?" Chen Guang's eyelids twitched. In this era of peace, there weren't many generals in the country. He didn't know much about military ranks, but looking at the rows of bars hanging on his chest, he seemed to be very powerful. The old man had quite an imposing manner, and was quite deceitful. "Hello, General Tan." He also imitated Qian Ming's action and saluted. "You're Chen Guang, right? I heard about you from my subordinates. I also specifically watched the video of you participating in the World Championship. I'm very interested in your dart skills. You do have a very unique side in this aspect. You're even better than a little girl we've met before. You also know that little girl. Her name is Xian Qin." General Tan had an easygoing smile on his face as he walked forward slowly. "Really? Thank you for your appreciation, General Tan. I don't deserve it." The other party could recognize Xian Qin's name. Obviously, he was knowledgeable. Chen Guang's guess about General Tan's identity was a little higher. "You're a straightforward person, so I won't beat around the bush with you. I'm the person in charge of the Shun Special Training Camp. Now, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Shun Special Forces, I'm officially inviting Mr. Chun to be the chief instructor of the team's dart course. What do you think, Chen Guang?" General Tan spoke like this. He went straight to the point and cut the Gordian knot. Chen Guang hesitated. He didn't have the intention to be a soldier. He was born free, and carried the big secret of the heavenly Holy Grail. It might not be a good thing to plunge into the military system. Are you going to say that you're undisciplined by nature, and might not be able to adapt to the rules of the military? He didn't expect General Tan to see through him again. This old man wanted to seize the initiative in the conversation with every sentence. He was trying to suppress me in the conversation. Chen Guang's heart was alarmed. If it was a real young man, he might really be suppressed by General Tan's pressing style of conversation. But who was he? The old man was a monster who had lived in the Sea of Time for 200 years. The old man was the prophet and sage Right Chun, that 178 billion people in the sea of time had to look up to. You want to suppress me with just a few words? The salt I've eaten is more than the rice you've seen. Don't flaunt your seniority here. General Tan didn't know that his habitual domineering attitude had aroused the resistance in Chen Guang's heart. Chen Guang turned his body slightly, and his aura suddenly changed. He smiled. I appreciate General Tan's good intentions, but I'll dispense with the military rank in organization. It's also my wish to contribute to the country. However, in my, Chen Guang's 20 years of simple life, I didn't really enjoy much help and care from the country. So to put it bluntly, it's not that I can't teach you, but there's no such thing as giving it to the country for free. His meaning was very clear. I can teach you, but I want benefits. It's an equivalent exchange. Don't fool me with an empty title and an empty promise. I won't fall for it. I'm also not interested in being a soldier. I have a very comfortable life outside. I don't need to run into the army to tie a rope around my neck. Chen Guang's words were resolute and didn't give General Tan any room to maneuver. General Tan's eyes narrowed slightly and stared straight at Chen Guang, as if he wanted to see through Chen Guang's real thoughts. But he gave up after a moment. He felt it was incredible, because the young man standing in front of him didn't have any of the immaturity he showed when he was chatting with Qian Ming. If he didn't see him with his own eyes, General Tan would almost think that he was facing a wise elder who had seen through all the vicissitudes of the world. Chen Guang still smiled calmly, but he was laughing in his heart. A young man who's not even 80 years old. How can you understand the life awareness of a 200-year-old monster? You're still trying to show off. Chapter 541. Young man, it's wrong for you to think like this. General Tan might have been in a high position for too long, so he was not used to Chen Guang's straightforward way of asking for benefits. He wanted to refute, but he felt that something was wrong. In his view of life, a person could give up anything for the country, even his life. How could he ask for benefits from the country just to be an instructor? He was a little unhappy, and even wanted to use his identity to force Chen Guang. But he suddenly remembered a lot of things. This young man never seemed to be easy to deal with. Previously, the matter between him and Su Lijing caused a storm in the political circle. But it did not cause any big waves in the military circle. Only a few people paid more attention to this matter. What was done. Although Su Lijing's influence in the country was not small, as a technocrat, although he had some connections, his foundation was not deep. He was not like the traditional forces in the military and political circles, who had been deeply rooted for many years. Making a move against Su Lijing wouldn't be a huge blow to China. Perhaps his so-called comrades might feel sympathy for him, but there's no guarantee that anyone would dare to stand up for him and fight to the death with Chen Guang. But in any case, it happened after all. Chen Guang, as a mere college student, brazenly overthrew a big name who had been rooted in the domestic economic circle for many years. In addition, his love with Jin Shiyue could not be ignored. Although in the eyes of the older generation like General Tan, no one was really optimistic about the young man's impulsive journey together. But that was Jin Shiyue, not an ordinary female artist who changed boyfriends every day. The special family behind her was destined that every love of hers was not vigorous, but it must be extraordinarily serious. In any case, before the relationship between the two broke, Chen Guang was already half a member of the Jin family. Not only that, Xiao Shui and Wu Tong also paid special attention to him. This guy also had a close relationship with the old man's grandson, so there was no need to force him. General Tan, I won't argue with you because it's meaningless. It's not that I'm being selfish, but there's something that's hard to say. How about this? Since General Tan knows Xianqin, why don't you simply let Xianqin represent her sect and teach you the art of concealed weapons? This move of Chen Guang's was called retreating in order to advance. General Tan used the fact that he knew Xianqin to hint to Chen Guang that they had other choices other than him. Chen Guang, on the other hand, did the opposite. I'm not interested in your matter. Since you know Xianqin, why don't you go look for her? Although Chen Guang had never entered the inner circle of the so-called inner force users, From the people and events he had come into contact with so far, it was obvious that these people with inner force were extremely special in the country. If the military wanted to obtain their abilities, the price they would have to pay would be far greater than expected. As expected, when General Tan heard Chen Guang's words, he became even more embarrassed. He thought to himself, "I'm looking for you because you look like you're easier to fool. You're not like those sects with inner force users, who are all cunning, and often ask for exorbitant prices. Just to get Thousand Despair sect out of the situation of seclusion, they had paid a huge price. They even pushed Xianqin, a little girl with a perverse character, to the position of the China Escort Association president. Even then, they still couldn't start a formal negotiation with Thousand Despair sect. God knows how much it would cost Thousand Despair sect to send someone as an instructor. Comparing the two, General Tan gradually figured it out. Since Chen Guang's skills were stronger than Thousand Despair sect's eldest disciple, Xianqin, and even Xianqin was willing to follow by his side, since he showed signs of relenting, wasn't it only right and proper to give some benefits? It was his brain that short-circuited. General Tan's mood instantly lightened up when he thought of this. Chen Guang also noticed the change in him, and laughed inwardly. He seemed to have understood. "Chen Guang, what do you want?" General Tan waved his hand slightly, signaling Qianming to leave. Qianming bowed and left the dormitory. Chen Guang thought for a moment, his eyes focused. "I need a special identity. A license to kill?" General Tan asked. Chen Guang asked in return, "Does such a thing really exist? You can pretend that he doesn't have it, but you can also pretend that he does. The so-called license to kill doesn't really allow a madman to kill without taking responsibility. It's only for some special cases. When a soldier is carrying out an important mission, he has the power to strike first against a confirmed criminal. But this doesn't mean that you can use this power to take revenge, nor does it mean that you can use it as a reason to rule over the people." General Tan had already guessed Chen Guang's request. "I can give you an identity to be attached to my Shun special training camp. In terms of rank, you will be at the same level as Qianming. You can mobilize some of the intelligence resources that you want. Some of your requests will also be given special treatment under special circumstances. Other than that, although you have this special identity, we will not assign you any tasks. You will still have complete freedom. Of course, if you are willing, you can also consider forming your own special operations team, and we will fully cooperate with you in the selection of candidates." General Tan's words were not very clear. They were somewhat ambiguous, but the meaning was very clear. This was a real amulet within the system. Chen Guang nodded, "Deal. But forget about the special operations team. I don't have that much of a sense of justice. I prefer to sweep the snow in front of my own door. The youngsters nowadays really can't be compared to our generation." General Tan relaxed and teased after the matter was settled. Chen Guang laughed. "You can't say it like that. If it's really a national crisis, of course, everyone has a responsibility. It's a man's wish to do his part and turn the world upside down. But the times are different now. Everyone has different demands in life. For example, the research companies that invest billions of US dollars in research and development every year sit on countless patents and break one technical barrier after another for our China. I think their contribution is no less than the soldiers guarding the border with guns. Indeed, it's me who can't keep up with the times. The future belongs to you young people. Qianming, come in and take Chen Guang to go through the formalities. You will be comrades in arms from now on." General Tan gave a few more instructions before bidding farewell to Chen Guang and leaving. He brushed past Qianming and walked out of the room. For some reason, Old Man Tan, who was a man of virtue and prestige, and a veteran of the battlefield, had an illusion in his heart. It was as if the person he had just negotiated with wasn't a young man, but a peak sovereign scepter expert, who stood at the peak of the world, and held the life and death of billions of people in his hands. He shivered slightly and shook his head. He was puzzled. So strange. Why would I think that? When Chen Guangjing saw this scene, he turned his head slightly and looked out the window. "Invincible, it's so lonely. I don't want to take out right Chen's status to talk to people. It's all because you seduced me. Instructor Chen Guang, this way. Qian Ming's head hung very low. He didn't dare to look Chen Guang in the eyes. Chen Guang patted his shoulder. Old Qian, don't call me Instructor Chen in the future. Call me Brother Guang. Yes, Instructor Chen. Half an hour later, Chen Guang changed into a military uniform and appeared on the training ground. Looking at the thousands of people below, he was a little drunk. Old Man Tan was too good at maximizing resources. He'd pulled everyone in the training camp over here. What happened to the special elite training? If I'm not wrong, the people standing on the far left of the square formation are the cooks. Looking at their greasy faces and palms stained with oil, did they just walk out of the kitchen? Chen Guang pointed at the group of people suspected to be the cooks. He pulled Qian Ming over and asked, "This group of people? Oh, oldly from the cooks. Li big mouth." Qian Ming said casually, "They really are from the cooks." Chen Guang turned his head and looked resentfully at General Tan, who was sitting in the distance as a spectator. There were many middle-aged people around him. The epaulets and bars on their chests weren't as spectacular as Old Man Tan's. They were mostly middle-level leaders in Shun's special training camp. Looking at the microphone in front of him, then looking at the many soldiers standing ramrod straight below the stage, looking at him with incomparable eagerness, Chen Guang began to feel awkward. I just agreed readily, but the problem is, how should I teach them? Thinking about it carefully, I really have no clue what to do. So many people are staring at me. Damn Old Man Tan. Don't look at me with that face full of expectation. I'm a little confused. At this moment, Hazy rushed over from the side, holding a laptop in his hand. Instructor Chen, why don't we put down the teaching materials first? Teaching materials? What the hell? How come I don't know about it? Chen Guang was puzzled. Hazy laughed mischievously. It's those videos you posted on the internet. I watched them all. They're really awesome. Many of my comrades don't know about it. Everyone is just obeying orders out of habit. That's why they're willing to stand here and wait for class. But if they watch your videos and documentaries first, then they'll understand how awesome you are. Their mood will be different, and the effect of your teaching will be much better. Chen Guang touched his mouth. He felt that what Hazy said was reasonable, but he was a little embarrassed. Although the old man's skin is thick, it's really not right for me to talk about my documentary in front of others. In the sea of moment, I can barely be completely shameless. But here, there's Shui Lin looking at me eagerly from the side. I'm very shy. This Brother Chen Guang, why don't you go rest first? I've watched your entire competition. Why don't you let me do it? At this moment Shui Lin walked over. Chen Guang secretly gave him a thumbs up. No wonder he was the first disciple that the old man took a liking to. His eyes were really good. He quickly turned and ran to the shady area where Old Man Tan and the others were gathered. He lifted the heavenly holy grail, crossed his legs and drank his tea. Colleagues, I'm Shui Lin from the 5 Capital Military Region. Many of you know me, so I'll just introduce myself. But today, I'll be talking about my instructor, Mr. Chen Guang. I'll have to start from a big case that happened 3 months ago. I'm sure many colleagues have already guessed that it's the Shattered World Organization's invasion of the 5 Capital. On the other side, Shui Lin had already brought out Chen Guang's past and confidently talked about it. On this side, Chen Guang came looking for Old Man Tan. Little Chen, how do you plan to teach? Chen Guang cursed in his heart that this old man didn't trust him, but he really had no clue. He could only smile and drink his tea while pretending to be profound. He pointed at the soldiers standing upright under the hot sun and said indifferently, "General Tan, haven't you noticed that my special training has already begun?" The so-called acting mysterious was referring to what Chen Guang was doing at this moment. He only had an unfathomable look, and everything was said without words. In any case, Old Man Tan didn't understand. Perhaps in his heart, Xan Qin and I had the same thoughts. In short, he just had the attitude of, you people from the court don't understand the affairs of the pugilistic world. As expected, when General Tan heard this, his eyes narrowed. He looked at the 1,000 soldiers below, who were completely focused on Shui Lin's story. So that's how it is. Amazing. Impressive. Chen Guang chuckled. You flatter me, you flatter me. Actually, he had no idea how Old Man Tan thought he was impressive. But that wasn't important. It was fine as long as he could fool people. He coughed lightly again and said, General Tan, forgive me for speaking bluntly. Although these 1,000 or so people below can be considered elites in the military, in my eyes, there really isn't much to be done. What do you mean? My skills are based on pure talent. It's not something that can be learned just by having a physical fitness up to standard. It's more about the root bone. Yes, that's right, the root bone. This so-called root bone isn't just the muscles, bones, and skin. It also involves some mysterious things that I can't explain to you. You won't understand even if I explain more. Although old Master Guang's acting skills were terrible, his bragging skills were top-notch. His empty words and random concepts were top-notch at fooling people. He said 1,000 and 10,000 things, but the summary was as follows. Your people don't have talent, so even if I teach them, they might not be able to learn, and most likely won't be able to learn. As for the reason, I've already said, it's because they don't have talent. To put it more plainly, they don't have the root bone. Don't ask me what the root bone is. You won't understand even if I tell you. In short, don't blame me if your people can't learn it, even if I teach them with all my might. He had already started to shift the blame. Your people can't learn it because they're too weak. Don't blame the old man for not trying his best. Old Man Tan felt a little lost after listening, but it wasn't that he couldn't understand. After all, the abilities that Chen Guang had displayed in the World Darts Championship, or in the videos he had filmed, were completely beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Extraordinary people would do extraordinary things. They couldn't be judged by common sense. General Tan sighed. Sigh, I understand. It's fine. Little Chun, I understand what you mean. Let's try our luck. He looked at the warriors below silently, his heart filled with bitterness and hatred. Those inherited forces that had mastered inner force were really detestable. Each one of them was more difficult to deal with than the other. So much so that they still hadn't made any breakthroughs in this aspect. If inner force could be popularized among the modern soldiers, how wonderful would that be? It was already so difficult to cooperate with the Thousand Despair sect, which was so desolate that it was almost lost. Not to mention the other rumored forces, such as the one clan that everyone knew was near Yanjing, but they were nowhere to be seen. Chapter 542. An ugly daughter-in-law would eventually meet her parents-in-law, and Chen Guang couldn't delay the time forever. General Tan and others were determined to sit here until they saw the special training course of the new chief instructor, Chen Guang. They didn't want to let Master Guang, who only wanted to fool them, have sores on his buttocks and be restless. About an hour later, Xuelin waved his hand heavily and said loudly, As you can see, our new chief instructor Chen Guang is young. Our new chief instructor, Chen Guang, might be young, but he has already pushed the art of darts to the strongest realm in human history. Even in the legends, it was absolutely impossible to find an expert like him who could shoot with such ease. Now, I ask you, do you look forward to the opportunity to learn the unique skills of the chief instructor? Tell me loudly, do you look forward to it? Xuelin was very famous in the military circle of the five capitals, not because of who he was, but because of his daring style and the brilliant achievements of his team. Even in Yanjing, thousands of kilometers away, Xuelin's name was also very loud. After all, he had been among the best in the military competitions many times. His ability to express himself was also quite learned from his family. He flattered Chen Guang from all angles. He praised Chen Guang's skills, strength, eyesight, and comprehensive personal strength. Even Chen Guang himself blushed when he heard it. Chen Guang said, After listening to you, I feel that I can fight a team alone. No one can stop me. I want to save the world and liberate all mankind. He himself was like this, not to mention the thousands of soldiers under the stage. Everyone raised their arms and shouted in unison, looking forward to it. Next, let's welcome the chief instructor, Chen Guang. Xuelin shouted loudly, moved his body, and made a leading gesture. Alas, let's go. No matter. Chen Guang braced himself to stand on the stage, looking at the thousands of soldiers looking at him with extremely fanatical eyes, especially Li Dazue from the cookhouse. The small eyes on his chubby face were almost shining. How should I teach him? He took a deep breath and told himself, Chen Guang, don't panic, don't be nervous. You are a fraud. That's right. Right now, you're like Einstein who was invited to an elementary school. Don't show any signs of fear. Just say whatever you want, as long as it's something they don't understand. I had to come up with a complete plan to trick them. First, I had to show off my skills on the spot to pave the way for my next trick. I'm not good with words. The first step was to find a suitable excuse for the sudden change in his speech style. 1,000 words are not as good as throwing a dart. As soon as he finished speaking, he took out a dart from his trouser pocket and threw it forward. The extremely sharp dart streaked across a distance of more than 100 meters and fiercely nailed into the doorframe of a door in the distance. Someone drew a hook on the door, and my dart hit the tail of the hook. Xuelin, go take a photo, and then put it on the big LED screen behind me. 3 minutes later, thousands of elite soldiers and cookhouse members of Shun's special training camp stared at the photo on the huge LED screen. They all opened their mouths wide and couldn't speak for a long time. It was the dart that Chen Guang had thrown just now. Not only was the entire head of the dart stuck in the wooden board, but it was also inserted into the tail of a curved hook the size of a fingernail. At a distance of more than 100 meters, he couldn't hit it with such accuracy, and it was even outdoors. This was not an indoor game like the World Darts Championship. Crossing such a long distance, his strength was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Moreover, he had to consider the influence of the air and wind, but he was still confident that he could hit the target the moment he threw the dart. In addition, what's wrong with your eyes? Ordinary people can't see clearly at such a distance, okay? Even the sharpshooters in the army wouldn't dare to say that they could control the accuracy of a sniper rifle below the millimeter level from such a distance. Are you still human? Everyone, including General Tan, was shocked. Seeing is believing. No matter how much you see it on TV, it's still not as shocking as seeing it in person. General Tan's heart was lifted. This kid's ultimate skill really lived up to its name. No, it's even stronger than the rumors. He was just fooling around in the World Championship. He had never shown his true abilities. I underestimated him. Giving him a special identity will definitely be worth the price. Chen Guang keenly observed everyone's expression, especially old Tan's intoxicated and satisfied face. Very good. This is the effect I wanted. He let out a long sigh of relief. The first step of the deception plan was very successful. Next, I had to say a very pretentious line to see if I could fool these people, especially old man Tan. What I said next was very important. The second step is to completely pull this matter into metaphysics. If you can't learn it, it's because you don't have enough talent or fate. It's definitely not because I didn't teach you anything. As everyone can see, and as Xuelin said, I am indeed the strongest dart thrower in the entire history of mankind. I have absolute confidence in this. Even a robot can't be more accurate than me with a gun. Everyone nodded, not feeling that he was bragging at all. I'm also very willing to pass on my skills to you, so I accepted the responsibility of the chief instructor that General Tan gave me. Everyone is responsible for the rise and fall of the country. Everyone's eyes became more and more fanatical. But I can't guarantee that any of you will be able to learn it. Everyone was in an uproar. Your aptitude is too poor. I really can't be satisfied. Other than that, this kind of skill that surpasses the limits of human beings is more about one word: enlightenment. If hard work can lead to greatness, then what's the use of geniuses in this world? Only true geniuses can grasp that 1% inspiration after putting in 99% of their sweat. First, he used the appropriate foreshadowing to strike everyone's confidence. This was exactly what Chen Guang did. Next, it was the most crucial time to fabricate his skills. Next, you have to remember every word that I'm about to say. My special training will never teach you how to hold a dart, how to throw a dart, and how to exert force. Those are the most inferior skills in the mortal world. Relying on these training, you can only become an amateur dart athlete at best, which is 9 levels lower than my realm. If you want to learn my skills, the only way is to use your heart. You have to let yourself believe that your dart will definitely hit the target after it is thrown. Only by making the belief in the depths of your heart extremely firm can you make every organ and every cell in your whole body listen to your command when you throw the dart. Remember my mantra: the heart arrives first, the dart arrives at the same time. Calm your mind and sharp your eyes like an eagle. If you can do these 4 points, your dart will be invincible. Every time you want to throw a dart, you will see a path. Your dart will follow this path that only exists in your heart and go straight to the target you want to hit. You have to be extremely blindly and downright confident. I'm done. That's the end of the special training, Chen Guang said solemnly, then took out the remaining 11 darts in the dart box in one go and shot them at the previous door. The 11 darts shot out at the same time, nailing a 5-pointed star on the door, and one of the darts with the red tail was right in the middle of the 5-pointed star. Then he swung his hands, turned around, and left without any hesitation. He had achieved his goal. It seemed like he was rambling on about a lot of mysterious things, but in fact, he didn't say anything at all. But other people didn't think so. Even General Tan, who was an experienced and knowledgeable person, was completely stunned by his words and the last trick that he revealed. Old Man Tan looked at Chen Guang's back with a complicated expression. Was this the ultimate hidden weapon technique that was even more powerful than the Thousand Despair sect? The heart arrives first, the dart arrives at the same time. Calm your mind and sharp your eyes like an eagle. Truly unfathomable. Truly unfathomable. Commander-in-Chief, how are our people going to practice? A sensible person next to him realized the problem. This chief instructor didn't even say how to practice. General Tan glared. Didn't he just say that he doesn't care to teach these low-level techniques? And we don't have the face to learn them? What we really need to think about is what he said just now, and the indomitable momentum he showed when he threw the dart. Martial arts experts are extraordinary and can't be measured by common sense. Arrange for everyone to train freely today. Everyone should carefully ponder what he said today. Whether you can understand it or not will depend on fate. I hope our people can fight for their dignity. Chen Guang returned to his room and laid on the bed, playing with the idea he cheated from Old Man Tan. He also sighed. I want to be a sincere and upright person so much, but fate makes fools of me, forcing me to be a scammer. Hao Kai was in a good state today, so he managed to muddle through. Is Brother Chen Guang here? At this moment, Xuelin's voice came from outside. Chen Guang jumped down, opened the door, and pulled Xuelin out. Let's go, take me to the intelligence department. Wait, Brother Chen Guang, wait. The leaders at the police special training area heard about what happened here and want you to go there to give them a lecture. I know you want to investigate people, but it has to be at the police special training area. Okay, let's go. The two walked a few steps, and Chen Guang found that Xuelin kept looking at him with a strange expression. Why are you looking at me? To be honest, Brother Chen Guang, you look very handsome in a military uniform. Save it, don't fool me. I don't have the intention to be a soldier. AI. Xuelin sighed again. Why are you sighing? Xuelin hesitated and said, in a few days, I'm afraid I won't be able to be a soldier for the rest of my life. What do you mean? Nothing, let's go. Xuelin suddenly smiled and hid her troubled appearance in the bottom of her heart. Don't be mysterious. The two came to the police special training area side by side. Although it was also located in the special training camp of Shund, it seemed to be a completely different system from the outside. In addition to a slight intersection when entering and exiting, it was almost completely isolated. Chen Guang was not in the mood to visit it. Instead, he asked Xuelin to ask where Wu Tong was, and went straight to find her. As soon as they arrived at the door of the training room, they saw Wu Tong, who was wearing a suit and doing strength training. Without thinking much, Chen Guang strode into the door and said, Hi. Wu Tong jumped down from the equipment and intimately hugged Chen Guang. She asked, How did you come in? What's up with you wearing this? Nothing, I just came in. Chen Guang greeted her with a smile and looked up and down at Wu Tong. He hadn't seen her for a month, and she had changed a lot. Her skin looked a little darker than before, but it didn't reduce her beauty at all. Her slightly drunk skin brought her a kind of healthy and sunny beauty. Of course, in the final analysis, it was because she had a good foundation. If a good-looking person had a dark spot, it was called sunny beauty. If a good-looking person had a dark spot, it was called bad skin. Her figure had also changed a little. Previously, she was healthy and beautiful, with curves all over her body. After a few months of closed-door training, the parts of her body that should be big had become bigger. It should be because her muscles had become more solid, but her waist was still so slender. In contrast, her devilish S-shaped curve was even more obvious. Even though he was very familiar with her, Chen Guang couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He thought, is this sister's closed special training to train her figure? Before she said 2 words, Wu Tong suddenly covered her mouth, as if she had realized something very important. She quickly let go of Chen Guang's hand and sneakily pulled him away. Let's go, let's go. I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Do you want to die? Wearing this and sneaking in. If you get caught, it's a crime. Wu Tong. Who is this? At this moment, a strong man in a black vest suddenly came over and looked at Chen Guang with a vigilant face. Di Jiang, it's none of your business. Wu Tong's expression changed slightly. She pulled Chen Guang away. Unexpectedly, Di Jiang blocked the entrance of the training room. This is Xue Lin, I know, but as far as I know, he doesn't have the qualifications to enter our police special training area, right? Although he has some privileges in Shund, we have our own rules. Isn't it too much to bring someone in? Where's the discipline? Mind your own business. Go and practice, Wu Tong said stubbornly. Di Jiang keenly sensed Wu Tong's nervousness at the moment. He became aggressive and said, we're in a closed special training area. It's a confidential unit. I have reason to suspect that you're engaged in espionage. As Di Jiang made a fuss, more and more people gathered in the training room and looked at Chen Guang unkindly. Xue Lin had a headache. The situation didn't seem right. Chen Guang was also puzzled, but he quickly felt relieved. Inviting him to be an instructor was decided by the leaders of the special training area. The so-called elites who were undergoing special training didn't know about it. Besides that, Chen Guang also noticed that there were at least dozens of men in the huge training camp other than Wu Tong. There were only 2 or 3 female police officers, but their appearance was on a completely different level from Wu Tong's. This meant that Wu Tong was a red dot in a sea of greenery. As long as one wasn't blind, they would pay attention to Wu Tong, who was so outstanding, coupled with the hostile and vigilant look in Di Jiang's eyes when he looked at him. This bro had definitely fallen in love. Chen Guang was right. Wu Tong was straightforward, and her personal strength wasn't any weaker than the male police officers. She was single and unmarried to the public, so her popularity in the training camp had always been high. Among the police elites in the special training area, there were more than 1 or 2 who had feelings for her. Among them, Di Jiang was the most obvious and fiercely pursued her. Di Jiang's ability was outstanding, and his family's social status matched Wu Tong's. However, because he was in the special training camp under military management, he had been suppressing his feelings in his heart and hadn't really confessed. He was waiting for the end of the training to be the first to launch a fiercer and more direct attack. Today, Chen Guang had hugged Wu Tong in public. How could he not be anxious? The other people who gathered around might not have acted as outwardly as Di Jiang, but Wu Tong was the flower of the police force. No matter whether this young man was a real soldier or not, or how he got here, they couldn't let him have a good time. Don't even think about snatching food from the tiger's mouth. Di Jiang, have you had enough? Get out of the way. Wu Tong shouted anxiously. Chapter 543. She became angry out of humiliation. Looking at Wu Tong, who was like an angry lioness, Di Jiang and the other male police officers felt extremely uncomfortable. Wu Tong was a straightforward person. She was usually careless and could be regarded as heroic in the entire police special training area. However, her character was definitely not rude. It could only be said that she did not care about trifles. She usually never argued with others, and was well known for being easy to talk to. But today, she actually became angry with everyone, because of this young man in military uniform. The relationship between these two people must not be simple. Dijong's heart was filled with hatred. This hatred could only be called endless. No wonder Wu Tong had completely ignored all the hints and flirtatious glances he had thrown at her in the past month. He previously thought that she was unromantic, but today he knew that she already had someone in her heart. He was not reconciled. He then turned his face and looked at Chen Guang fiercely. The more he looked at him, the more he couldn't understand. This guy was obviously not a real soldier. Where did he come from? Xue Lin's white was a slightly sickly white because of his special body, that the sun could not leave black marks on his skin. However, his face still had the signs of being exposed to the sun during training. But this guy, although he looked a little darker than Xue Lin, he did not look like a soldier who had been exposed to the sun. He was definitely a young master of a rich family. He looked like a dog in military uniform. But how could he deceive us, the police elites who were famous for our keen observation? The more Di Jiang thought about it, the angrier and angrier he became. He did not care who came first. He only regarded Chen Guang as an outsider who wanted to snatch food from the tiger's mouth, the only bright scenery in the training camp. Fortunately, he still remembered his identity as a public official. If it was someone else who was as angry as him, he would have already punched him. It was not easy for him to barely restrain himself. Chen Guang was blocked by Wu Tong, and looked at Di Jiang with great interest. Then he turned his head, and looked at the others who were also looking at him with hatred. He thought to himself, if I am not careful, I will be like a tiger in a pack of wolves. You people should be a little more conscious. The one standing in front of you is Wu Tong's nominal younger brother, but in reality, she is his god brother. Don't treat a bean bun like a dried vegetable. I haven't said anything yet, and you're already stepping on my face? Sister Wu Tong, stay out of this. Chen Guang took a step forward, and gently pushed Wu Tong to the side. He stood in front of Di Jiang, and raised his head to look at the dark-skinned man. He was a head shorter than Di Jiang, but he didn't lose in terms of aura. Alright, you can move aside. Whether I'm a spy or not is not up to you. How I got in is none of your business. If you don't want me to do something, I'll do it anyway. Truth be told, if Chen Guang were to bring out his title as the chief instructor of darts, even if he couldn't scare them to the point of peeing their pants, he could at least get them to calm down and consider what's going on. After all, they're all adults, not kids. Besides, he was brought in by Xue Lin. Even if it was against the rules, it was not up to the students to deal with it. The discipline department would deal with it. Di Jiang was still suppressing his anger. He opened his arms and blocked the door, refusing to budge an inch. This guy is really stubborn. Chen Guang pinched his chin. You're an old man. Don't act like a little kid, okay? Look at how angry you are. I feel ashamed for you. It reminds me of my friend who stole my lollipop when I was 5. Chen Guang's repeated provocation finally made Di Jiang explode. He glared at him. Are you done? Chen Guang still looked calm. I haven't said anything yet. Aren't you the one who has been throwing a tantrum? Do you need me to find a mirror to help you see how childish you are now? As he spoke, he turned his head and put his arm around Wu Tong's shoulder. Sister Wu Tong, I really thought you were practicing your skills in some closed special training. It turns out you're in a kindergarten. Is this the so-called elite of the police? Di Jiang's breathing gradually quickened. He was about to lose control. In fact, he understood everything. Of course, he knew that he was being unreasonable. But he just couldn't swallow it. His mind kept replaying the scene of Wu Tong and Chen Guang hugging each other affectionately when they met. Now he saw him put his arm around Wu Tong's shoulder in public. His lungs were about to explode. The string in Di Jiang's mind snapped. He swung his fist at Chen Guang's face. He looked like he couldn't wait to punch Chen Guang to the ground. Wu Tong was shocked at first, but she immediately calmed down. She didn't panic at all. Xue Lin was about the same level as Wu Tong. She knew Chen Guang's strength very well. Maybe Chen Guang would be defeated by Di Jiang and other military skills. But in terms of fist skills, 10 Di Jiangs might not be a match for Chen Guang. Di Jiang looked like he had lost his mind because of anger. But when he swung his arm, he was very alert and looked at Wu Tong's expression. He thought to himself, "You'd better come up with some melodramatic plot, so I can make a fuss. During the closed special training, you let your boyfriend sneak into the special training camp. Such a serious disciplinary problem is enough to make you two suffer." With Wu Tong's background, it might not be a big deal. But her little boyfriend, no matter who he was, would have a good ending. But why doesn't Wu Tong look nervous at all? Doesn't she know how hard my fist is? There's no reason. Bang! While Di Jiang was puzzled, his fist was pinched by the fingers of Chen Guang's left hand. He tried to exert force forward, but he couldn't move at all. The scene at this time looked very strange. Di Jiang was maintaining the posture of exerting force forward. His movements were standard, and his body was stretched, which was very convenient for him to exert force. The muscles and veins on his right hand were bulging full of power. But Chen Guang's right hand was behind his back, and his left hand was raised in a Z shape in a very awkward way. His back was straight, and his body was as steady as Mount Tai. His left hand seemed to be holding a balloon lightly. How could it be? Di Jiang roared in his heart. What the hell does this person do? He looks like a pretty boy, but what the hell is his strength? Is he a monster? Big question marks kept appearing in Di Jiang's heart. When he looked at Chen Guang again, his eyes were a little strange. He's really a spy. Everyone, let's do it together. Catch him. Di Jiang growled while clenching his teeth. Only a series of muffled roars came from his mouth, and blue veins as thick as a little finger spread from the bottom of his neck. Chen Guang still didn't move a single inch, although the others felt that Di Jiang seemed to have gone a bit too far. It seemed like it was not the time to help reason, and not help family. Moreover, just now, Chen Guang had called Di Jiang a little brat, which made these colleagues who had been with Di Jiang day and night for the past few months feel unfair for him. You're not an old man. You're just a little brat who still smells of his mother's milk. Where did you get the big face to flaunt your seniority here? Therefore, everyone looked at each other and moved forward one after another. They were really going to make a move. All of you stop. Wu Tong's almond-shaped eyes were wide open. She was completely infuriated. Xue Lin also didn't care about any discipline issues. She slightly bowed and got into a fighting posture. All of you save it. You don't have guns. What right do you have to fight me? Right at this moment, Chen Guang suddenly grinned. He suddenly exerted force in his hands. He was going to make a move for real. How could the strength of his Qilin arm be compared to that of an ordinary person like Di Jiang? He didn't seem to explode, but Di Jiang uncontrollably clenched his right fist. The next moment, Chen Guang's left hand grabbed Di Jiang's fist tightly. His right hand stretched out like lightning and pinched Di Jiang's waist in the shape of a claw. He exerted force in both of his arms at the same time. Get up! Di Jiang struggled with all his might and waved his hands and feet. But it was useless. His whole body was lifted up horizontally by Chen Guang like a piece of wood. Whether it was his right hand or waist, it was as if they were tightly clamped by a machine. He was in excruciating pain, but he couldn't break free. Get lost! Chen Guang shouted again. Di Jiang, the muscular man who weighed more than 100 kilograms, was thrown out like a shot put. He flew more than 10 meters and landed on the sports cushion with a bang. Even though he landed on the cushion, he was still spinning in the air until he was dizzy and dizzy. He felt waves of tearing pain coming from his waist and spine. He didn't know whether his injuries were serious or not. Can this farce end now? Next time, I should directly throw you out of the window. Who else? You can come up and try. After throwing Di Jiang away, Chen Guang looked around. His tone wasn't particularly arrogant. Reality proved that louder people didn't mean they were powerful. The other police special training area students looked at each other awkwardly. They didn't know whether they should go up or not. Di Jiang's individual strength ranked at least in the top 3 among the people present. His pure strength was the best among everyone. But he was thrown away like a toy without the slightest resistance. Moreover, his opponent had obviously shown mercy. Di Jiang had landed on the cushion from such a long distance. His control was so precise that it could only mean that his strength was comparable to Di Jiang's. There was no doubt that he had crushed Di Jiang. What are you guys doing? Just when the elite police students were in a difficult position, a stern shout came from outside the training room. Everyone turned their heads and looked behind them. They saw 3 or 4 middle-aged men in uniforms walking quickly behind Old Tan. The one who shouted was a lean middle-aged man beside Old Tan. Chen Guang curled his lips indifferently. Fine, they're finally here. I haven't had enough yet, but it looks like I won't be able to fight anymore. Di Jiang had already jumped up from the cushion. He rushed out and complained. Director Di, this person is of unknown origin. He illegally snuck into our place. I suspect he's a spy. Director Di? Chen Guang raised his eyebrows. No wonder Di Jiang was so fearless. He was the local tyrant here. These 2 people both had the surname Di. If they weren't his father, then they had to be his relatives, right? Chapter 544. He couldn't help but feel a little dull. Then he looked at Wu Tong and Xue Lin beside him. The future of the motherland was indeed the world of the 2nd and 3rd generations. It was so difficult for a child of a poor family like the old man to get ahead. Slap! Unexpectedly, the middle-aged man with the surname Di raised his hand and gave Di Jiang a slap. The slap left a blank expression on Di Jiang's face, and a red handprint appeared on his black face. Director Di shouted angrily, "Unknown origin, my ass. Di Jiang, where is your basic judgment? Did you waste the past 2 months training on dogs? Where is this place? This is Shun's special training camp. Have you ever seen an idiot spy who swaggers in a military uniform to be a spy? Whose IQ are you insulting? What's wrong with your brain? Do you know who you are humiliating? You are humiliating the entire Chinese police system." Di Jiang covered his face, and his mind was completely confused. His uncle really didn't save him any face. Apologize to Instructor Chen right now. Instructor Chen is the chief instructor of the darts course that our Shun special training camp has just hired. It took me a lot of effort in General Tan to invite him here. Is this how you welcome me? Director Di looked at Di Jiang with a little anger. Although he scolded him severely, he had found a way for him to step down. Di Jiang turned around with a red face and bowed slightly. Instructor Chen, I'm sorry. Other elite trainees also looked at Chen Guang with a blank face. They couldn't believe that this young man was actually the chief instructor. In the entire Shun special training camp, there were only 5 people who could get the title of chief instructor. Among these 5 people, 2 were from the police force, and 3 were from the military. Each one of them was a well-known figure in the outside world. They were all famous people who used blood and fire to fight in extremely dangerous missions again and again to gain their fame. How could this young man be the chief instructor when he came? We have never heard of him. Wu Tong was also stunned. Although she knew that he was very good at fighting, and his personal strength was so strong that he could even fight against the world's 97 people by himself, she hadn't seen her good brother for only a month. How could he become the chief instructor? Did he take a rocket to the sky? I'm sorry, Xiaochen. It's because our communication wasn't smooth that caused you to misunderstand. But don't worry, we definitely don't have any other intentions here. General Tan was also a little embarrassed. He came up and apologized again and again. He thought to himself, it wasn't easy for me to bluff a real chief instructor. He was already reluctant when I agreed to Director D's request. Now that I'm in a hurry to send him over, your students are making things difficult for my chief instructor? What if he runs away in anger? Where am I going to find him? I'm sorry, Instructor Chen. It's all my fault. I apologize for the displeasure I have caused you. Apologize to Instructor Chen right now. Director General D also came over and lowered his head, looking very ashamed. After he was done, he even turned around and glared at the other police cadets behind him. Chen Guang was puzzled. Aren't these 2 a little too much? There was no reason for it, but he felt that something was wrong. Although I'm using the title of your chief instructor, I'm just bragging on the stage. What I'm doing is misleading the students under the guise of chief instructor. It's impossible for me to teach anything real. These 2 are too attentive. He smiled at the police cadets who were apologizing in unison and told them that it was fine. However, he was feeling very suspicious in his heart. Although he wasn't very clear about the level of Old Man Tan and Director General D, he could guess even if he used his toes to guess that these two were big shots. There was no reason for them to be so humble in front of him. Therefore, I have reason to think that these two people have ulterior motives towards me. Could it be that they are interested in me? Chen Guang leaned slightly against the wall and stuck his butt against the wall. An incomparable sense of security slowly enveloped him. Everything was stable now. Fortunately, Instructor Chen is magnanimous and didn't argue with you. Go and call everyone to the field. Gather in 10 minutes to receive Instructor Chen's special training. Oh right, Wu Tong and Xuelin don't need to go. You are Instructor Chen's assistants. He had no idea what Chen Guang was thinking about. Director General D waved his hand and arranged things. Little Chen, you're really a young talent. It's the country's great fortune to have you teach us everything you know. On the other side, General Tan's face was flushed with excitement. As he spoke, he grabbed Chen Guang's hand and slapped it back and forth. Chen Guang was shocked. Old veteran, don't mess around. This taste is too strong. I can't accept it. I really didn't expect it. It's really, Old Man Tan said and wiped his tears. To be able to see the military elites master martial arts that are comparable to inner force in my lifetime, I, Tan Zhaohua, did not let down the old leader who gave me the heavy responsibility. Even if I go to the underworld after I die, I will still have the face to see the predecessors and martyrs. Chen Guang's eyelids lifted. Wait, what? What did I just hear? Mastering martial arts? Don't scare me. Someone really learned it? Impossible. He felt like he was listening to a fairy tale. I don't even believe it myself. Seeing Chen Guang looking at him in shock, Tan Zhaohua thought that Chen Guang was feeling uncomfortable from his crying. So he calmed his emotions and said, I'm sorry for making a fool out of myself. I was too emotional in my heart, and I couldn't control myself. It's fine, it's fine. It's not worth General Tan's attention. Chen Guang had a myriad of questions in his heart, but he couldn't ask them. After all, he was the one teaching the special training class, so he couldn't possibly ask others if their people had succeeded. Otherwise, wouldn't that be a huge scam? Tan Zhaohua didn't notice Chen Guang's awkwardness at all. Instead, he held Chen Guang's hand even more excitedly. This isn't the power of Weibo. It hasn't even been 2 hours since little Chen started your special training class. There are already 3 people who suddenly had an epiphany just like you said. Chen Guang's eyes widened. What the F***ck, special training has an effect. There are actually people who can learn something. Don't scare me. He was speechless. No wonder Old Man Tan and Director D respected him, as if he was a god. If someone really mastered it, they would explain everything. If it were him, the two of them would also kneel. Ah, ha ha ha, ha. This. He didn't know what to say. Little Chen, your great kindness. Tan Zhaohua couldn't stop. Xuelin was really embarrassed by the old man's snot and tears. She also noticed that Chen Guang was in an awkward situation and quickly came to his rescue. General Tan, don't be too excited. Since Bro Chen Guang has taken the position of chief instructor, he will definitely do his best. Chen Guang also silently withdrew his hand from the old man's and wiped his cold sweat. Yes, I actually didn't do much. It's nothing more than the master leading the way. The cultivation is up to the individual. They were able to have an epiphany because of their own hard work and talent. What kind of epiphany did those 3 people have? Who were the ones who had an epiphany? As the chief instructor, I'm very flustered and uncertain. Can we not dawdle here? Hurry up and let me see them. If he didn't take a look, Chen Guang wouldn't feel at ease. As the so-called chief instructor, he was completely clueless about how his first batch of trainees had become talents. Finally, about 10 minutes later, he saw the 3 so-called disciples who had an epiphany in the police special training area. He felt a little uncomfortable. Looking at the greenish-gray glowing faith threads above their heads, he felt a little tired. What the hell? In the afternoon, the 3 of them had an inexplicable epiphany. Their worship and faith in him had obviously exceeded a certain limit. Even the white pillar of faith above their heads had undergone a qualitative change. It was no longer as simple as becoming thicker and thicker, but it had changed color. The color of the faith value thread changed from pure white to green-gray. It was no longer as thick as before, as if it had been condensed, becoming as thick as a hair. However, it still emitted a misty glow. Looking over, it looked like a faded rainbow was hanging on the foreheads of the three people. Was this the new world after a single person's daily production of faith exceeded 100? Does that mean that I've started the post-fan era because of a freak combination of factors? The era of my believers is about to arrive? Li Dazue, the three of you find the furthest distance that you think you can maintain your accuracy. Try a few moves. Chen Guang waved his hand and gave the order. A few hundred police students looked over curiously. Li Dazue from the kitchen was ecstatic. Chief instructor, you know me? Chen Guang nodded. I know you're from the kitchen. Alright, you guys can go. The strongest among his first batch of believers was actually Li Dazue from the kitchen. He alone had a daily production of more than 130 points of faith. 10 points more than the other two. How much of a fool did you have to be to suddenly awaken in the art of darts? I understand now. A chef who doesn't know how to throw darts isn't a good special forces soldier. Li Dazue's furthest distance was 50 meters. The other two were slightly worse, but they were still more than 40 meters. Chen Guang was relieved. Although they had completely surpassed the concept of a normal person, they still couldn't be compared to the old man. They wouldn't go so far as to starve the master to death. He silently drank a mouthful of water to calm himself. He felt that he had a new understanding of the mysterious potential of humans. The three of them had pushed the power of their beliefs to the extreme. I had told them to be absolutely confident, but they had really numbed themselves to the point of blindness. They had continuously hypnotized themselves in their subconscious and used their blind obedience to me and my words to make them achieve what I had said, grasping onto some kind of mysterious Tao. As believers, their faith was extremely fanatical. Perhaps in addition to the fact that their skills were beyond ordinary people, they had finally achieved this miracle. For example, Li Dazue, who was in charge of the kitchen, was said to be able to cook dozens of people's dishes in one pot. His arms were definitely not simple. They must be steady and heavy. Chen Guang touched his mouth. Under the old man's so-called pithy formula, their faith and bodies produced an incredible chemical reaction, and then they went against the natural order. In addition to these three people, Chen Guang also took a trip to the world in the cup. He found that in just one afternoon, the total production capacity of the Darts God statue had increased by more than 3,000. Evenly distributed to everyone, it was 3 points per person. This had simply broken a new record of per capita faith value production. Perhaps when a few more devout lads like Big Mouth Lee appeared in this group of people, the production capacity would soar even higher. Chen Guang couldn't help but smile. This was going to be rich. The group of police cadets, including Di Jiang, were completely dumbfounded. Before this, they had suspected that the so-called chief instructor was just making empty promises to save face. In the end, after hearing the changes in the three of them in one afternoon, they were all shocked. Did this guy have magic that could turn stone into gold? Why did it sound so sci-fi? Regardless of anything, Chen Guang's reputation as the chief instructor of Shun's Darts Training Hall was even more solid than steel with Li Dazue and the other two as examples. Chapter 545. During the second special training, Chen Guang was already very familiar with it. He followed the same pattern from before and lied. Thanks to his 100 years of acting as a charlatan in the sea of time, old Master Guang's acting skills were barely passable. Although he himself felt that this forced act of metaphysics was very out of place, very strange, and he had goosebumps all over his body. But these people, including Old Tan Director D, believed in this. Because it really worked. About an hour later, Chen Guang finished another special training session in the police special training zone. Then, accompanied by his two assistants, Wu Tong and Xuelin, he decisively ran away with the excuse of mental exhaustion. The three of them sat in Chen Guang's dormitory, staring at each other. The atmosphere wasn't right. Chen Guang gave Xuelin many looks, but her brain actually short-circuited and didn't understand Chen Guang's meaning. Brother Chen Guang, is there sand in your eyes? Xuelin scratched her head, confused. Wu Tong rolled her eyes. Xuelin, it's not that there's sand in Chen Guang's eyes. It's that there's pebbles in your brain. Huh. Sister Wu Tong, why are you scolding me for no reason? Xuelin was even more confused. Chen Guang sighed inwardly, reflecting on whether he had treated Xuelin too well. Little Xue, the weather outside is so good, and the scenery isn't bad. Don't you want to go out and take a look? How can I? I'm Brother Chen Guang's assistant. What if you need me for something? Xuelin said stubbornly. Chen Guang turned his face away. I don't want to chat with a retard like you. He silently gulped, suppressing the urge to beat someone up. Suddenly, there was a change in the police elites undergoing special training. Unfortunately, perhaps because they had too many distracting thoughts, not a single believer appeared. The hundreds of them added up to only a few hundred points of faith. This was to be expected. There were still some differences between the police and the military. Just as he was sighing, there was a sudden movement in the statue. There were 2 more believers who could produce more than 100 per day. That's good. It seemed that his Right Chen International Stunt Academy really had to be put on the agenda. Look at these people, look at these believers. Putting everything else aside, he had only trained less than 2,000 people today, and his production rate had skyrocketed by more than 4,000 points of faith. If he could make use of Old Tan to promote this special training to the entire country, wouldn't he be able to earn a few million faith points every day? How many soldiers and policemen would there be in the country? Wouldn't he be able to earn millions of faith points every day? How spectacular would that be? At the thought of this, he was so excited that his whole body trembled. Suddenly, 2 cold snorts came from the bottom of his heart. It was Luli. Hee. What are you laughing at? It's nothing. You can slowly dream on your own. Hey, don't just say half of it. Why are you asking so many questions? In any case, you'll naturally know when the time comes, so there's no point in telling you in advance. Luli impatiently tossed out a sentence before falling silent. Chen Guang always felt that he had been tricked again, but Luli didn't say anything, so he couldn't do anything. Forget it. I've been injured by Luli, so I need to act tough in front of outsiders to recover. Chen Guang put down the cup, coughed lightly, and said to Xuelin in a muffled voice, Xuelin, go out and see which 2 people had an epiphany again. He finally found a suitable reason to send Xuelin away. Xuelin wondered, this Brother Chen Guang, how did you know? Chen Guang only smiled mysteriously. Buddha said it can't be said. Young man, when one day you and I are in the same realm, you will be able to understand the mystery. Right now you are still too weak. What the hell? Xuelin scratched her head and walked out confused. After waiting for a while, he ran back with a strange look on his face. There are really 2 people who can hit the dart from a distance of 30 to 40 meters. One is a police student, and the other is a cook in the kitchen. He was really puzzled. Chen Guang had been sitting in the room from the beginning to the end. How did he know that there were people outside who had an epiphany again? And it was very clear that there were 2 people. This was too metaphysical. Chen Guang nodded, as if he had already known it. But in his heart, he thought that it would be too much if there were no believers among the hundreds of police officers. Fortunately, there was someone who could take care of it. Well, your special training will probably start tomorrow afternoon. Now I don't need you as an assistant. Go out and find a quiet place. Sit with your legs crossed, 5 hearts facing the sky. Clear your mind, and get rid of all distracting thoughts. Go to bed on time at night, and continue to meditate when you get up tomorrow morning. Adjust your state of mind and body to the most perfect state. You see, today you and those police students and the soldiers in the special training camp of Shund attended my special darts training class. More or less 5 people benefited from it, but you didn't move forward. Xuelin, you let me down. Chen Guang lectured Xuelin in a righteous manner. Xuelin really blushed and lowered her head in shame. I let you down, Brother Chen Guang. It doesn't matter. Maybe it's just fate. You go to meditate first. Since he had already pretended to be a fraud, of course, he had to go all the way. Chen Guang stood up slowly and waved his hand, as if he was giving advice to the country. Xuelin nodded repeatedly and quickly left. As soon as Xuelin left, Chen Guang rushed to lock the door as fast as lightning. He turned back and smiled at Wu Tong like a thief. Wu Tong was amused by his look. "Hey, what are you going to do?" Chen Guang rubbed his hands and approached Wu Tong with a smile. He wanted to pounce on her directly, but he felt that something was wrong. Indeed, when he was injured, Wu Tong had wiped his body. She had seen everything that she shouldn't have seen. At that time, he was accidentally sent into the world of Qilin's arm. When she came out of the shower, she saw the scene of him going out. The relationship between the two had indeed gone beyond that level. But after not seeing each other for a long time, he couldn't just take advantage of her. It was too vulgar, and might make her feel uncomfortable. Yes, I am a man with manners. I can't be dominated by my lower body. So he put away the creepy smile on his face, and calmly sat next to Wu Tong. "Nothing. I haven't seen you for a long time. I'm happy." "That's good. Don't mess around. This is the special training camp. I don't have the guts to play around with you. Besides, you're too young to know the value of quality. You have to take care of yourself. If you have a weak kidney, you have to get better before thinking about it. For now you better behave." Chen Guang's eyes widened. It took him a while to realize that in Wu Tong's mind, he was still a young man with a weak kidney. Didn't Sister Tang Ying tell her? No. Chen Guang slowly recalled one night when he and Tang Ying were sitting side by side in her dorm room watching porn. Tang Ying was so tired that she almost broke her hand. She seemed to have made him swear not to tell anyone about it. So Sister Tang Ying definitely didn't tell Wu Tong that he didn't have a weak kidney. I'm still the scapegoat. This is a huge misunderstanding. Chapter 546. The owner of the most powerful pile driver in history was actually mistaken for a young man with kidney deficiency. This was even worse than Doi, okay? Sis, I'm not weak anymore. I'm really not weak anymore. Sister Tang Ying's medicine is quite effective. For the sake of welfare, I'll admit this illness, but I've already been cured, okay? What integrity? Let's scatter like birds and beasts. Wu Tong's face lit up. It was obvious that she was also looking forward to something. Back when she was taking care of Chen Guang in the ward, she refused to take her hand out. It was Chen Guang who forced her to take it out when but couldn't take it anymore. Sister Dirty Tong had never been an ordinary person, but she immediately shook her head. I don't believe you. You must be lying to me. I've asked around. Kidney deficiency is a disease that comes and goes like a landslide. How can it be cured so quickly? It's only been a month, and it's completely cured? Chen Guang was furious in his heart. Can't we talk properly? I've already accepted my fate. You won't even let me recover? Can't you just let me live? No, it's not like that. He struggled on his deathbed. Wu Tong put on a straight face and looked into his eyes seriously. You know I'm doing this for your own good. Really don't be anxious and don't force yourself. It's not the right time yet. You know I really want to, but I have no choice. I have to be responsible for the rest of your life. I can't let you get seriously ill just because I want to feel good. Otherwise, how can I face your parents? I'm your sister that they've acknowledged. We have plenty of time in the future, okay? Chen Guang looked at her silently. What you said makes sense. I really can't refute it. But give me a chance to prove myself. No. How about this? Let me touch through your clothes. I definitely won't put my hand in. This joke is too old. I've heard it so many times that my ears are getting calluses. After half an hour of negotiations, Chen Guang finally chose to give up. On the other hand, Wu Tong had already steeled her heart and refused to budge. She even looked as if she knew that Chen Guang was trying to quibble with her. In the end, she even said that it was fine to take advantage of him, but it had to be done in the presence of a famous doctor like Tang Ying. Her best friend, Miss Tang Ying, had to personally tell her that Chen Guang had fully recovered. Only then could she rest assured. If anything went wrong, Tang Ying would be able to adjust the treatment plan according to the premature ejaculation and treat it as a treatment. Chen Guang felt like the rest of his life was ruined. There was no way Tang Ying could testify for him. She had said that no one was to mention it, especially Wu Tong. Tanging might even add insult to injury. At the thought of this, Chen Guang felt that his future was filled with darkness. Can't we give them some benefits? If it were any other woman, Chen Guang would never speak so boldly. However, Wu Tong was different. When the two of them were in the ward, she was too aggressive. When they met for the first time today, Chen Guang was still a little restrained. But when the two of them were alone and chatted for a while, Chen Guang was pleased to find that his cheap sister still had the same familiar temperament and personality. She was also looking forward to something. The little devil in his heart was slowly playing tricks. Don't you want to investigate someone? It's almost dinner time. If you don't go now, they'll get off work. Wu Tong said as she got up and walked out. Chen Guang sighed. Forget it. Let's get down to business first. The two of them walked out of the dormitory and easily entered the special police training area. They went straight to the office building behind. They didn't even need Wu Tong to tell them. Now that Chen Guang's face as the chief instructor was enough to sell, it wasn't a problem for him to investigate the residence of an ordinary family of 3 in Beijing. 10 minutes later, the two of them walked out of the office building side by side. Wu Tong said, "If you want to find someone, go ahead. Don't be impulsive and hurt him. I've investigated your family once, but I couldn't find any clues. It's not that simple." Chen Guang nodded. "I understand. I have to go back to the dormitory. After all, this is still the closed training period. I can't hang out with you all day." Wu Tong said as she was about to leave. "Oh yeah, when will your training end?" Wu Tong thought about it. "I'll probably go back when school starts. But by then, I'll be the bureau chief of Wenxing. You can do whatever you want in Wenxing in the future. I'll protect you." Of course. Returning to his room, Chen Guang flipped through the script while pondering about that family's matter. They're clearly here for a vacation, and they got off the plane the day before yesterday. Their return flight was 4 days later. And they've also booked a hotel room for 7 days straight. So after he dealt with Xiao Shuizi's matter tomorrow, he would pay that family a visit. It was terrifying to think about it. Under the powerful intelligence system of the state, the personal information of these ordinary families had no privacy at all. Not to mention their whereabouts. Even their call records for the past 6 months could be checked. Although they were not the focus of attention, and there were only phone messages and no specific call recordings, it was enough to completely expose their family relationship. Unfortunately, nothing suspicious was found. There was another thing that made him very unhappy. There was no information on Wenwen in the entire intelligence system. Wenwen's home address, family relationship, and everything else seemed to be on the opposite end of the spectrum from the other family. One was completely exposed to the surveillance of the state, and the other seemed to not exist in this world at all. Comparing the two, it only made people's hearts go cold. Chen Guang did not know if it was because of the interference of too much power that Wenwen's information was blocked or something. Logically speaking, Wenwen should also have a household registration and identity card. Otherwise, how did she register for this university? "Sorry, the number you have dialed is temporarily unavailable. Please try again later." Chen Guang silently hung up the phone. He had heard this voice so many times in the past few days that he could almost recite it by heart. "Wenwen, where the hell did you go?" He did not want to admit it, but he was really starting to panic. After lunch the next day, Xuelin came to Chen Guang's dormitory as promised. "Brother Chen Guang, I'm ready." Chen Guang nodded. In the morning, he had already asked Liu Li about the specific method of paying faith points to activate the pseudo-cup world. "Take off your clothes," Chen Guang ordered. Xuelin jumped back, and her pale face instantly turned red. Is there a hole in your brain? I didn't ask you to take off your clothes." Okay. Have you really made up your mind? As I said, your chance of survival is 37%. This data is absolutely true. Of course, if you can successfully survive, your fist strength can reach 500 kilograms. Xuelin's eyes flashed with a resolute light, and she nodded heavily. "Thank you, Brother Chen Guang, for helping me. I have made up my mind." 5 minutes later, Chen Guang picked up the heavenly holy grail and slowly poured the full cup of water from top to bottom on Xuelin. who was sitting cross-legged on the floor. He then turned around and walked out of the room, closing the door and guarding outside. The 600,000 faith points that had just been accumulated in the heavenly Holy Grail were quickly emptied. In Chen Guang's mind, the entire room behind him was enveloped in the familiar power of the heavenly Holy Grail. Since then, Xuelin's consciousness had completely fallen into a deep sleep and entered the mysterious pseudo-cup world. Chapter 547. Whether he could survive depended on 30% chance, 30% luck, and 40% willpower. About half an hour later, heart-wrenching screams gradually came from the room, making Chen Guang, who was guarding outside, feel distressed. An hour later, a middle-aged man accompanied by General Tan walked in quickly with a gloomy face. He asked, "Is Xuelin inside?" Chen Guang nodded, "Yes." "Let me in. I'm his father," the middle-aged man said as he tried to push Chen Guang away. Chen Guang stopped him. "If you want to kill him, you can just barge in. I won't stop you." "What the hell is he doing?" Xuelin's father looked at Chen Guang fiercely. Chen Guang looked at Xuelin's father. From the military uniform, this middle-aged man's position didn't seem to be lower than General Tan's. But Xuelin said he wanted revenge, but he didn't mention his father's power from the beginning to the end. Thinking about it carefully, there must be some meaning that he didn't understand. Maybe there was something that was difficult to say. Such a military family would always have some difficulties that ordinary people like him couldn't understand. It was the so-called people in the temple can't help themselves. So Chen Guang thought about it and said, "He is doing what he chose. I just gave him a chance. Mr. Xue, please calm down." Xuelin's father looked at Chen Guang even more fiercely. "Do you want to say that if anything happens to Xuelin, you will do that to me?" Chen Guang raised his eyebrows. Tan Zhaohua pulled Xuelin's father hard. "Xiao Xue, calm down. This was really Xuelin's decision. I have a letter here. He asked me to pass it to you." Chen Guang was the chief instructor of Shun's special training zone. He had proven his ability and contribution with real results. Old Tan didn't want to see any conflict between Xuelin's father and Chen Guang. Xuelin's father took the letter. There were only a few lines on it. It was the name of his comrade who had sacrificed himself at the border, and a simple sentence. "Blood feud is as deep as the sea. Even if I die, I will not regret it. Don't blame Chen Guang. Your son has made up his mind." The father understood everything in an instant. He silently put the letter into his pocket and looked at the bedroom door. The screams inside did not stop, but the anger and worry in his eyes gradually disappeared. After a long time, he slowly nodded at Chen Guang. "I've heard about your story. On behalf of the military, I thank you for your generosity. I also thank you for helping Xuelin. Regardless of life or death, I, Xuezhan, will always be grateful to you." Chen Guang nodded. "You don't have to thank me." He also took a risk. Xuelin's screams lasted for a full 5 hours. Finally, at midnight, the door was brazenly opened. Xuelin shakily walked out from inside. Everyone turned on the lights and saw that the floor of the room was full of shocking black bloodstains. Xuelin's whole body, especially his arms, was covered with blood. It looked very creepy. He raised his head to look at the crowd and suddenly smiled. His hands rubbed each other's shoulders, and the dark brown scabs fell off, revealing the skin that was as good as new. "Brother Chen Guang, I didn't let you down. I made it through. Although I don't remember what happened, I did carry it through." As he spoke, a shining green thread of faith value flew from the top of his head to Chen Guang. Chen Guang was stunned. "I'm stunned. One person can produce more than 1,000 faith value a day. A fanatic." At the cost of 600,000 points of faith, he forcefully gave Xuelin the heavenly Holy Grail's pseudo-cup world training, allowing him to have 500 kilograms of fist force. Then he actually became a fanatic who gained more than 1,000 points of faith a day. This is a big business. A good business that can return the cost in 2 years after one investment. That was why Luli was so annoyed. As a cheat, she didn't play by the rules at all. "Shouldn't you have told me about such a great benefit earlier? Why did you have to make me try it myself to find out what the effect would be? This cheat is really incompetent." Chen Guang complained in his heart. I'm sorry, I'm not a cheat for you to masturbate. I'm just a poor goddess locked in this broken cup. Like what you encountered today. I didn't know either. I've already said that you're a lab rat. Do you know what a lab rat is? Alright, you don't have to say anymore. I understand. But there's bad news I can tell you. Is it very bad news? It's not particularly bad. Anyway, you'll naturally know. Then please don't say it. Let me slowly understand it with my heart. Goodbye. While Chen Guang was joking with Lu Li in his heart, Xuelin ran to the bathroom next door to take a shower. When she came back, she was no longer in her military uniform. Instead, she was wearing a black singlet and casual pants. Xuelin looked at her father timidly, but didn't say anything to him. She turned to Chen Guang and said, Brother Chen Guang, I can already feel the incredible power in my arms. In the future, I owe my life to you. I have to go. If I can come back alive, my life is yours for the rest of my life. If I don't come back, please forgive me. I'm a lowly person who only knows how to accept kindness, but can't repay it. After saying that, he turned around to leave. Chen Guang looked at him with a complicated expression. His breathing gradually became rapid. Chen Guang didn't know much about the World Shatterer. Even though 7 members of the World Shatterer had died in his hands, he didn't know what kind of people they were. He didn't know the purpose of their gathering and what they wanted. However, from the names Sure 8 and Sure 9, it was clear that they didn't have a particularly high status in the broken world. Otherwise, they wouldn't be nameless and could only use numbers as their code names. However, there was no doubt that Sure 8 and Sure 9 weren't weak. Back then, Chen Guang had also barely defeated Sure 9. However, Xuelin planned to kill his way into the Broken World's headquarters alone. Even though he had extraordinary strength like the shrunken Qilin arm, he was still courting his own death. However, Chen Guang couldn't persuade him. He could only help him this much. The Broken World wasn't a bunch of hooligans playing house. They were a powerful assassin organization. When fighting against these people, he had to consider all aspects of military skills. They wouldn't foolishly stand on the spot and fight with their fists. If they could kill you with a gun, they definitely wouldn't use a knife. Even though Chen Guang's fists were strong, he had never learned how to use a gun. His marksmanship wasn't good at all. He didn't even know how to disengage the safety. It was fine if he used a dart to deal with a few people, but to follow Xuelin to attack the assassin organization's base? That would only be a burden to him. Xuelin, stop right there. Xuezhan shouted. Do you know what it means for you to leave like this? I know. Xuelin stood at the staircase but didn't turn back. This is a complete violation of the rules. You are disobeying orders. You will become a stain on our Xue family. Xuezhan clenched his fists tightly. Xuelin waved his hand. Dad, it doesn't matter if it's a stain or a violation of the rules. You know me. You want me to be a coward? I can't obey such an order. Just because of international concerns, I have to swallow my anger when my men die. I don't want to follow this rule either. My brothers died in their hands. It's only right and proper for me to avenge my brothers. Don't worry. I will only do this in my own capacity. I will not cause any trouble to any of you. From now on, I will no longer be a soldier. If necessary, I will no longer be your son. Even if it's like hitting a stone with an egg, I will break a tooth of the world breaker. As soon as he finished speaking, Xuelin had already trotted down the stairs. Xuezhan was trembling all over. Tan Jiahua asked him, Do you want me to call a few people to stop him? Xuezhan shook his head tiredly. No, it's useless. Looking at his sad father, Chen Guang didn't know what to say. Xuezhan turned his face, wiped his eyes quietly and said, Actually, I understand Xuelin's mood very well. I was like this when I was young. Anyway, I have to thank you, Chen Guang. You seem to have given him a special ability. It shouldn't be worse than those who awakened the dart skill in Shun's special training camp, right? Chen Guang nodded. The level is indeed higher. I don't know if Uncle Wu has told you about my fist strength. Now Xuelin has 2/3 of my fist strength. 500 kilograms? Exactly. That's good. Xuezhan sighed with a smile on his face. Originally he was bound to die, but because of your help, he at least has a chance of survival. I am really grateful to you. If it weren't for you, he would have gone alone a few days ago. Shuizhan said very seriously. Chen Guang nodded. I also know this, otherwise I wouldn't have taught him. Chen Guang didn't know what kind of fate awaited Shuilin. He just made himself do the right thing at the right time, and worked hard to help a young man who was willing to give up his life for the sake of revenge for his comrades. That night, Chen Guang took a bus from Shun back to Yanjing. He still had his own things to do. The people responsible for driving him were still Qian Ming and He Zi. Unlike when they came, when they left, the two of them could be said to be respectful to him. Although Chen Guang was the same as Qian Ming in terms of administrative rank, the title of chief instructor was respected in Shun's special training camp. Chen Guang didn't go back to his hotel. Instead, he asked Qian Ming to send him straight to the hotel where the family was staying. You guys go back. Instructor Chen, do you need any help? Chen Guang thought for a moment, then shook his head. Not for the time being. If there is, I will contact you. Thank you for your kindness. No one could find out the inside story of the case. The public security organ in Lilai County couldn't find out. Wenwen couldn't find out. And even Wu Tong couldn't find out using her special channels. Today, no matter how stupid Chen Guang was, he should know that behind the hot pot poisoning case, there was an 80% to 90% possibility that it was related to an inner strength person. In a sense, this poisoning case was the same as Wenwen's family information. It completely jumped out of the scope of the intelligence of the state apparatus and belonged to another level. Chen Guang even faintly felt that perhaps all the relevant personnel responsible for investigating this case in Lilai County, and even in Xiang City, didn't investigate the case at all. But they were covering it up. You can hide it for a while, but you can't hide it forever. From now on, let me personally unveil this dark curtain and see what kind of amazing things are hidden underneath. Striding forward, Chen Guang had a harmless smile on his face, walked into the hotel lobby, and slapped the UBS black card on the counter. Please give me a room. Today my lucky number is 7, I prefer 12. Please give me suite 712. Chapter 548. Dad, let's go shopping at Wang Fujing department store tomorrow? Late at night, in the room, the young man was happily trying on clothes. He had bought a lot of things this time in Yanjing. He had done well in the college entrance examination, and his family had received a large sum of money, enough for them to spend freely. Ever since he came to Yanjing, he felt that he had transformed from a high school student who only knew how to read books to an adult who lived a life of debauchery. There were only 3 words in his mind. Buy, buy, buy. You only know how to buy things all day long. Don't you know how to save money? You'll spend all your money in a short time. What if you want to study abroad? His father seemed a little angry. He looked at the dazzling array of things on the bed and felt a little pained. It was really expensive for young people to buy things these days. Any set of clothes with hooks would cost 2,000 or 3,000. The family had gone to a concert, and the tickets had cost 7,000 or 8,000. Thinking of the scene at the concert, his father had a vague premonition in his heart. How did that family's child suddenly soar into the sky? In the past, he seemed to have heard from his son that the celebrity he liked had a boyfriend called Chen Guang. At that time, he didn't think much of it, thinking that it was just someone with the same name. But when he saw that kid standing on the stage and flirting with such a big star, he was really shocked. That kid shouldn't be short of money now, right? Maybe he wouldn't care about a mere 800,000? When the father thought of this, he looked at his son with a slight heartache inside. He really didn't know why the Chen family was so lucky. They could still make a comeback despite being so down and out. Fortunately, Chen Guoli was a generous person. Otherwise, his hometown people would not be able to survive in Lilai County. The mother glared at the child's father. Stop talking. It's not easy for us to get this money, but it's all earned by our son. He can spend it however he wants. Don't interfere. Besides, our son is so capable. Even if he wants to study abroad, it will definitely be at the government's expense. We can just pay for his living expenses. It won't be that difficult. The child's mother looked at the high school student kindly and patted his head. It's been hard on you. The high school student chuckled. It's okay. I just couldn't get out of bed for a month. I had a lot of fun playing games these days. Our son is still the best. His grades haven't dropped even after lying at home for so long. The mother was full of praise. All right, stop praising him. It's getting late. Go to sleep, the child's father ordered. Mom, do we close the windows at night? Although the air conditioner is on, it still feels stuffy. The high school student asked. Don't turn it off. It's more comfortable if it's on. Anyway, we've already paid for the room. Their central air conditioner doesn't consume electricity anyway, the child's mother said casually. The high school student nodded and happily returned to the room next to the suite. The couple lay on the bed in silence for a while. The man suddenly said, I don't know why, but I'm afraid that Chen Guang will come looking for trouble with us. The woman patted his head. You're always so busy and afraid of this and that. Now that Chen is rich, a few $100,000 is nothing. Besides, we're not the only ones who cheated him of his money. There are many of them. He can't just look for us, right? But our Xiaoyang was the most poisoned at that time. The man was still uneasy. The woman pinched his waist harshly. It's been so long. Even if Mr. Chen comes looking for trouble with us, we can still deny it. What's wrong with not letting him recover after being poisoned? What can he do to us? Besides, I don't even know how this happened. It was our Xiaoyang's leg that inexplicably shrunk, and then inexplicably recovered. Let me tell you, those businessmen are all heartless. It must be Chen Guoli who bought the poisonous mushrooms. Actually, it's not like that. You shut up. Would it kill you to speak less? Sleep. I don't care what happens, I just want to sleep now. I'm so sleepy. It's already over. Don't tell me you want me to spit out the money? It was late at night, and the woman gradually closed her eyes. The man was lying on the bed, looking out the window with his head tilted. He looked at the night sky outside through the window, and thought silently, why can't I see stars in the sky of Yanjing? The man's eyelids gradually sank. They had strolled around Badaling during the day, and bought a lot of things. His family was indeed exhausted. Suite 714 fell into silence. 5 hours later, at 5 o'clock in the morning, Chen Guang pushed open the door of Suite 712 next door. The young man who had just graduated had a good sleep. Even in his dreams, he was looking forward to the big shopping tomorrow. Tomorrow, he would be able to buy the DSLR that he had been eyeing for a long time. Including the lens and the body, it would cost about 40 to 50,000. But that was not a problem. When he entered university, with his photography and post-production skills, as well as the DSLR, it would be very easy for him to sneak into the cosplay club. When that time came, he would really be happy just thinking about it. With his family's income, normally they would not allow him to squander like this, but that 1 month of effort was worth it. Just as he was fantasizing about that scene in his dreams, drooling all over his pillow and smiling so hard that his face was almost crooked, his whole body turned cold. In his dreams, he suddenly fell from heaven on earth into a bone-chilling cold pond. His whole body quivered, and the young man slowly opened his sleepy eyes. I had a nightmare. What happened? The lights in the room had been turned on at some point. At 5:30 in the morning, his brain was still a little groggy, and the blurry figure in front of him gradually became clear. When he finally saw the person standing next to his bed, he rubbed his eyes, thinking that he was seeing things. Chen Guang. Chen Guang casually threw the basin on the floor. You know me. The young man seemed a little surprised. He thought he was dreaming. How could the Chen Guang in this dream still speak? He pinched his thigh again. You are not dreaming, you are already awake. Chen Guang's face completely collapsed in an instant. I have a lot of questions to ask you, and I am not in the mood to dawdle with you. The young man's mouth gradually opened wider and wider, as if he was about to scream. In the next second, his neck was violently grabbed, and his whole body was lifted up easily, and he was pressed against the wall, unable to move. Seeing that he still wanted to scream, Chen Guang grabbed a pillow with his right hand and covered his face forcefully. The young man could only make muffled sounds. If you don't want to die, you'd better behave yourself. I have a lot of questions, and you'd better cooperate with me. Otherwise, I will directly throw you out of the window. At most, tomorrow's news will be a high school student committing suicide by jumping off a building because of a broken-up relationship. These words, of course, were only said by Chen Guang to threaten the young man, but he knew that the young man would definitely believe him. The young man gradually stopped struggling. When Chen Guang put down the pillow, his eyes were full of fear, but he really did not try to call for help. He only twisted his neck in pain, and softly and hoarsely said, "Chen Guang, don't be like this. Ask me anything. I will tell you everything." When he spoke, his whole body was trembling. Chen Guang frowned. This young man was more cooperative than expected, which was not good news. The more cooperative he was, the more it meant that he knew less. Casually throwing him on the ground, Chen Guang crossed his hands. "My family's 800,000 yuan. Are you happy with it?" It's not like that. Alright, this question is meaningless. I just want to ask you, what's going on with your leg? Tell me everything you know in full detail. 10 minutes later, Chen Guang looked at the young man with a slightly distressed look. From the young man's frightened eyes, he could not see any signs of lying. Could it be that this young man really didn't know anything? After the hot pot poisoning case, his leg muscle inexplicably atrophied, and after a month, it inexplicably recovered? This was a human's leg, not a balloon that could be deflated and inflated by blowing on. "Xiaoyang, what are you doing? Go to sleep early in the morning. Why are you turning on the lights?" At this moment, there was a knock on the door, and a middle-aged man's voice came from outside. The high school student's face changed, and just as he was about to open his mouth to shout, Chen Guang glared at him fiercely, telling him to cover his mouth and not make a sound. Immediately, Chen Guang opened the door, and with lightning speed, stretched out his hand and grabbed the middle-aged man outside by the neck. "Since you're here, it's just right." "Chen Guang." As soon as the middle-aged man saw Chen Guang, he panicked and whispered in a low voice, "This man has a guilty conscience." Chen Guang looked at the man's flickering eyes with surprise, but also a hint of relief as expected. Chen Guang was already certain in his heart. It was right to take the initiative to find this family. As the head of the family, these things should be decided by him, and he knew more. "It's me. You should know why I'm here. I'm not in a good mood right now, so you better not try to hide it from me." Chen Guang was already tired of the muddy water. He grabbed the young man called Xiaoyang's ankle with one hand, and stuffed half of his body out of the window. This was the 7th floor. If he fell from here, there was no other possibility other than being minced meat. Chen Guang turned his head to look at the father. "Since you've done it, you have to be mentally prepared to bear the consequences. You should have known that there would be such a day." The father's face instantly turned pale, and his lips trembled. In fact, when he watched the Chen family rise again, he was worried that they would settle the score after the fall. But he did not expect that it would be Chen Guang who would personally take action. And it was so sudden, and he did not expect that Chen Guang would hate them so much. If he went through the normal legal channels, his family would really be able to get away with it, and refuse to admit to it. But they could not stand against him not following the rules and personally taking someone's life. Although the Chen family had a good reputation in Lilai County, and Chen Guang's father knew that Chen Guang might be bluffing, he didn't dare to gamble. After all, this was his son's life. Half of his body was hanging outside, but Xiaoyang did not even dare to call for help. He was very regretful. His family must have been noticed by Chen Guang after watching the concert. Otherwise, how could he have come at such a coincidental time? If he had known earlier, he would not have gone to the concert. Unfortunately, there was no medicine for regret in this world. The middle-aged man knelt on the ground with a plop. "Chen Guang, I beg you, don't hurt Xiaoyang. I can return the money to you, please." Chen Guang shook his head. "Do you think I care about this bit of money? Stop joking. This is your last chance. Don't play the fool with me." Usually, he was easygoing, funny, witty, and silly. People could joke with him as they pleased. As long as they did not humiliate his family or take advantage of him, he would not easily get angry with others. However, today was different. Thinking of what had happened to his family over the past year, he was on the verge of exploding at any time. Okay, I'll talk. Can I talk? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.